All right,
And
let's see
I'm going to
something.
start the broadcast. We are now live. And we have people joining us.
What's Ed got in the closet there?
It's Ed is,
Rummaging.
so we need, good evening. So we need, I think we need, well, do we need another member or I guess we have three. No, we need more for,
No,
return-
you need,
we need 4 for zoning board and for a site plan.
Ed, you need to clean out your closet.
And unmute yourself, Ed.
I am making Brockton Community Access and Pam co-hosts. Just in case my computer craps out, we can continue going.
Tony's here, and I know,
What about,
Reggie, I know was intending on coming, so,
he was not coming,
no, he
Pam?
was,
He was, okay, good.
he was.
Well, I think, so that we
We have
don't, I think we can,
quorum,
we
though.
have 4 members.
Just let me know when you guys are ready. I can give you guys a countdown.
I think, Mr. Chairman, would you like to start and wait for Reggie?
I mean, if we know that he's going to be here momentarily, we'll wait, but if we don't have a time.
I think he is yeah,
Oh, Yesterday, so.
We'll give him a couple of minutes.
and there he is.
And there he
There he
is,
is.
see?
Time for kickoff, sir.
You not, Reggie, unmute. Unmute.
I'm unmuted.
There you go. Well, good evening to all. And I will read the prepared statement as.
Let me just give you a countdown so I can switch over to the channel. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, ready to go in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Very good. Good evening to all. This is the regular meeting of the Brockton Planning Board. This is January the 5th, 2021 at 6:03 p.m. And I'm about to read the customary prepared statement as follows. I am calling this January the 5th, 2021 meeting of the Brockton Planning Board to order. My name is Bob Pelagi and I'm the chair of the board. This meeting is being recorded. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 20 relating to the 2020 novel coronavirus outbreak emergency, the January the 5th, 2021 public meeting of the Brockton Planning Board shall be physically closed to public access to avoid group congregation. Real-time public participation and comment can be addressed to the planning board utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. This application will allow users to view the meeting and send a comment or question to the chair via the question and answer function. Submitted text comments will be read into the record at the appropriate points in the meeting. For those of you joining us by phone who want to ask a question, press *9 to raise your hand. A copy of the recording and transcript will be posted to the city's webpage within 72 hours. All votes will be done via roll call to ensure count accuracy. A quorum call, board members, please respond in the affirmative to indicate your attendance at the meeting. Larry Hassan,
Here.
Tony Gonzalez,
Here.
Reggie Thomas,
Here.
Bob Pelagi is here, and Craig Pina.
Here.
Thank you. With 5 members voting in the affirmative, I declare we have a quorum. All right, moving along our agenda this evening.
Mr. Chair, while
Yes.
you're getting that ready, I would like to remind the folks who are joining us via Zoom or online that when a case comes up, you as the chair will announce that case. We're asking people who are associated with that case, presenting that case, to raise their hand electronically. If you scroll to the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see a little icon that lets you raise your hand. We will then bring you on to the panelist side of the presentation, and that will allow you then to unlock your microphones and turn on your cameras. When we get into the testimony section of a case, we also will ask for people who are attendees to raise their hands, and we will unlock your microphones at that point in time where you can give us your name, address, and then provide us with your testimony. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. You may
Thank you.
proceed.
All right, so for this evening's meeting, administratively, we've got acceptance of minutes, endorsement of A&R plans, subdivision plans, and/or lot releases. And we have a request for a site plan extension for neighborhood works. Let's see, it's Neighbor Works Housing Solutions at 70 High Street. And then getting into hearings, we have a total of, I guess, 8 agenda items, and they are as follows. Permission to return to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Our property is at 68 to 70 Field Street. The denial was July the 14th, 2020. Applicant is Marie Lorquette. Attorney John Creedon is the representative. Second item is a definitive subdivision. Property at map 37, plot 4, 6, and 18 Augusta Avenue, and plot 36 Prospect Street. It's an 18-lot residential subdivision. Frederick Hebsche is the owner, and Curly and Hanson representatives. That meeting, or that hearing, I should say, is continued to February the 2nd, 2021.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
first item has also been continued to February 2nd.
Item 3.
Item 1.
Item 1.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Thank you. So item 1 that I just read previously has been continued to
February 2nd.
Feb 2nd. All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, agenda item 3 is a preliminary subdivision of properties at map 74, plots 18 Market and 1-4 Copeland Street. It's a 2-lot residential subdivision. The owner is John Torches, Trutches, I think it is, pardon me. Land Surveys is the representative. Item 4, preliminary subdivision. Properties at 42 Quincy Street. It's a 5-lot residential subdivision. Owner is Springfield Ventures Realty Trust. 5 is a definitive subdivision. Property at 53 Cypress Drive and 300 Rockland Street, it looks like. 5-lot residential subdivision. Representative is ET Engineering. 6 is a site plan approval amendment of retail marijuana, 747 Center Street. Representative is Patrick K. Sullivan Esquire. Number 7 is site plan approval, retail marijuana properties at 156 Main Street. Representative is James A. Valeriani Esquire. And the applicant is the Mensing Group. Well, he's part of the Mensing Group, I think it is, unless I'm confusing the two. And the 8th and final item is site plan approval, retail marijuana properties at 165 Westgate Drive. Representative Scott Farrier, J.K. Holmgren Engineering. So, Pam, do we have, let's see, has everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes from the last meeting? And if so, are there any comments, suggestions, corrections?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
A second?
Second.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we've got plenty of seconds there, so pick
I
one.
did. I took the first one.
All right, good. So the vote on the roll call. Larry Hassan,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez,
Yes.
Reggie Thomas,
Yes.
Craig Pina,
Yes.
Bob Pelagi is a yes. And then do we have any, I know we have, I think you have one A&R plan.
There's one A&R and a request for an extension.
Okay, you don't have any subdivisions or lot releases, all right?
Nothing.
Okay, so in the matter of the, let's see, the planning department had handed out a directive on the matter of the one on, what is the address of the
It is
A&R plan there?
93 Pleasant.
What was the address on the A&R plan, Pam, please?
93 Pleasant.
Or was it 93 Pleasant? I'm sorry. Okay, and so 93 Pleasant Street. And do we have a representative on the line or not, Rob?
Do we have anyone here representing 93 Pleasant Street? If so, please raise your hand.
I don't see anyone.
Okay, so I think all the departments get, I mean, all the board members got a directive sometime during the day today. Planning department has informed us that they are, that this had a prior history of a zoning relief, and as such, the properties that they want to intermingle are under the conditions of a prior zoning decision. Therefore, they would have to go back before the zoning board of appeals prior to attempting to revise this through an A&R. Am I stating that correctly?
Yes, sir, that is our concern.
Okay, so we can, now the time clock runs. What do we got there for time, Pam?
You do not have time because you, as you know, an A after 21 days. That's it.
Well, when did we get it?
Your 21 days will expire before the next meeting.
So, I mean, are you, so,
That it was submitted?
so there isn't, in other words, there isn't time to ask the applicant for a continuance, so we have no option but to deny it?
It is not, yeah. I don't believe you have that option.
Okay. All right, fine, thank you. I won't belabor it. Would someone like to make a motion? I mean, you hear, any other discussion on the matter?
What
Anybody
are our
have
options
any other
here?
questions? I'm sorry?
What are our options here?
Well, it's a
Whether deny it.
time clock and an A&R. If we don't act in an A&R, then it becomes an administrative approval. So in other words, if we don't act as a board and we don't act on it tonight and we push it aside, the time clock runs on an A&R. You've got how many days? I'm sorry, Pam, how many days do we have from the date of filing with the city
You
clerk?
have 21 days from the
21
day
days.
it was filed.
It becomes automatically approved, which
It
we
was
don't.
filed on the, it was filed on the 22nd of December.
All right, and I just asked the question, was there time to ask the applicant to submit a continuance or to submit some sort of, to give us to extend the time clock, and Pam said no.
And the applicant is not with us right now.
Apparently
No.
not. Nope.
He can resubmit it.
You'll have to do, prepare, not just, in other words, pay another fee and file the, that's what I was trying to avoid that, but
Correct, but
But
Is
we
it-
have no opportunity to
Mr.
ask the
Chair?
applicant any questions right now.
I'm sorry, say that again, Craig?
We have no opportunity to ask the applicant any questions right now.
No, unfortunately not. We don't, so it doesn't give us a lot of options, unfortunately.
So with the knowledge that inaction requires them to refile, I would motion to continue.
I second that.
you can't continue it.
But you can't,
It's,
So they just have to refile. So do we have to deny it?
You have
Yes,
to
sir.
deny it.
We
You
have
have
to
to
deny it.
approve it or deny it. Those are your only
I
two.
don't think we have enough information to approve it. So
in other words, if the applicant was on, the first question I asked Rob was a representative on the line with us? If there was a representative and he agreed to extend the time clock, then we would have given him an extension. But there's nobody there to give that authorization, so. If we
And
let the-
nobody usually does for an A&R. They just submit them and that's it.
If we let the time clock run, then we're giving them an approval, an administrative approval that we don't want to do. So if someone would like to make a motion in the affirmative,
Motion approved.
motion approved with the hopes that it does not.
Correct.
does Not
Right.
prevail.
Correct.
Oh, are we doing that again?
Yeah, you don't want to, as Dick Wainwright,
Why are we doing that again?
because you don't approve, we don't need to get into it now, but you don't, if someone denies a negative motion, it becomes a positive motion. You don't make. motions.
That's okay. I got it.
right.
I'll second Craig's motion.
Got it.
Go ahead, amend a motion,
Yeah, Craig,
I
and
made the
I'll
motion,
second that
Reggie
motion.
seconded.
approve, okay. On a roll call vote. Motions are made to approve in a second. Larry, it's on.
Mr. Chair, could you explain the vote, though, that if they, So to deny it, it needs a,
You're gonna have to refile, correct?
right, but it would, if a yes
We are-
vote, it still approves it, and a no vote, right?
So
Yes.
we are asking the board to vote no, yes. Vote no.
It's a
Correct.
motion to deny in hopes that it does not prevail.
It's a motion to
To
approve.
approve.
To approve, yes, I'm sorry.
There
So
we
if you
go.
vote,
Motions.
Yeah.
Are we good now?
Yeah.
Larry has
You're
seconded.
good.
So we're denying, so no.
That's correct.
Good, no.
Tony Gonzalez,
No.
Reggie Thomas,
No.
Craig Peanut,
No.
Bob Pelagi is a no. It does not pass. Dick Wainwright, just thank you.
oh,
Dick Wainwright, thank you from the grave. It was
Yeah.
nice.
Okay,
okay.
I'll explain it in detail if you would like, but he is correct. He won this before the zoning board of appeals historically a couple of times. You don't make motions in the negative. Okay,
All right, I just moved,
Oh, you did that, okay.
I did that.
okay, so the next,
Yeah.
the next request for extension. Request for
Where'd you
extension
go?
for 70 Highland Street, Neighbor Works Housing Solutions. Is there a representative on that?
Yes, she is in the room.
Yep, can everyone hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Hi, good evening, how are you?
Good. Could you identify yourself, please?
Yes, Noelle Humphreys, I'm the Associate Real Estate Director from NeighborWorks Housing Solutions.
All right, thank you. Good evening.
Sure, good evening.
And just maybe just a brief presentation. I see we're all in possession of your cover letter there, but if you want to make just the brief statement, that would be acceptable.
Sure, no problem. So we are in the process of redeveloping the old Lincoln School at 70 Highland Street in Brockton. So part of our financing efforts involve the low income tax credit and some state soft monies. We submitted an application to the state last February for those credits, and as is pretty customary with the state, they usually require a couple rounds of submission before they'll approve your award. So we were asked to come back in this round, received really positive feedback from the Department of Housing and Community Development. So we are submitting a new application this month with an expectation that we'll be awarded tax credits in the summer, probably June, which is the standard, if not a little earlier. And with that in mind, we've gone ahead and requested an 18-month extension of our site plan approval. The approval was set to expire this month, although with the state of emergency provision, there is that allowance that I think as of like March 2019, it was on hold as is. So it sort of brought us some extra months anyways, but just to be cautious, we thought it would be prudent to request an 18-month extension to get us through to construction completion in 2022.
Okay, thank you. I have two questions, Rob. The freeze is still in effect right now, correct, Rob?
We believe that the freeze has been lifted now that because we are actually hearing cases. And so we're erring on the side of caution by just approving this extension. We also want to make it known that the department is continuing to work with NeighborWorks on their historic tax credit application, and they continue. There's another round of historic tax credits that they have just applied for.
Okay, great. So just to be clear, it's going to affect anything we do in addition to this. That freeze, the freeze that the legislature put in place has been lifted.
That is most people's interpretation, yes.
Okay, and then the second question I've got, is it customary when we do an extension on the site plan to give 18 months?
We can give anywhere up to, we have given extensions up to 2 years in the past. So 18 months should not be unusual.
Very good. Thank you. That's all I had. Board members, do you have any questions, concerns?
I'd like, I mean, is there an issue with us erring on the side of caution and giving them a 2-year extension as opposed to 18 months? I don't remember giving an 18-month extension. We've given a year and 2 years. I don't remember giving 18 months.
That would be wonderful. You know, our plan is obviously to finish by 2023, but it is kind of cutting it close. So 2 years would be ideal.
Ms. Humphries, I'm sorry if you have you made any progress there? Have you done any physical construction at all?
We can't start our construction until we're awarded the state credits.
Oh, got it. Okay,
So,
thank
but
you.
we do have, you know, we're at 70% plans right now. So we're proceeding to move those forward. We've made a lot of progress, as Rob mentioned, on the historic credits, because those require going in multiple rounds to the Mass Historic Commission. And, but we will begin, the plan would be if we are awarded credits by June, we would proceed to a financial closing on the property and acquisition from the city by the end of the year, beginning construction the start of 2022.
Very good. Thank you. Well,
And they have made some physical improvements to the building to make sure that it remains weather tight.
To maintain,
and
for
taking care of
maintenance,
leading-
yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Mr. Chair, in an abundance of caution, I would like to propose a motion for a 2-year extension.
wonderful. Is there a second?
I second.
First of all, I don't think anybody's got any problem with that. Do the other board members? No, fine. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, very good. Let's see, a vote on the roll call. Larry Hassan,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez,
Yes.
Reggie Thomas,
Yes.
Craig Pina,
Yes.
and Bob Pelagi is a yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. You as well.
All right. So now we move on to, so let's see, item 1 has been continued. Item 2 is continued. So the next order of business would be item number 3, preliminary subdivision property at map 74, plot 18, Market in 1-4 Copeland. It's a 2-lot residential subdivision. The owner is Juan Troches, Land Surveys is the representative. Pam has made some attempts to reach out to attorney
McCluskey.
John McCluskey, and has heard nothing. This is the one where it's on they keep extending the end of the dead end street opposite the South Junior High School. We requested some proposals there or some more information to show some turnaround, because we run into this problem where you're extending dead end streets and we have nothing. So what's the board's pleasure on this? It's kind of hanging around.
Mr. Chair, you are going to need to take action on this. This was a preliminary and your time is frozen until now. And you only have a short window.
Okay, so
Is
it's
there any representatives here for the,
There are not, they were aware that it was scheduled for tonight.
well, I'm sure of that. I just didn't know if anybody was online, so.
Okay, Larry, I'll wait for you to make the motion.
You know, unfortunately, I mean, based on what we have and don't have for information, we have to deny the preliminary subdivision plan for property map 74, plots 18 Market Street and 1-4 Copeland Street.
Make a motion to second.
But you're making a motion to approve, I hope.
Make a motion to approve with the
Hope
hopes
that
that it's
it's not-
denied.
Not prevail.
Yeah, will not
Oh, my
prevail.
God.
I know.
Okay, there's been a motion made and seconded. Larry Hassan?
Yes.
No.
Well, no.
No.
Yeah, we're going that way again. No.
See?
Tony Gonzalez,
No.
Reggie Thomas,
No.
Craig Pina,
No.
Bob Pelagi is a no. So it does not pass.
Okay.
The next item is a preliminary subdivision, properties at 42 Quincy Street. It's a 5-lot residential subdivision. Owner representative, Springfield Ventures Realty Trust. Let's see.
Did you move them? Oh,
I see hands up.
yeah, I'm moving one. moving the other. I don't know who TJ is.
That's Scott Farrier.
I don't know who TJ is.
We should have Attorney Nezarella somewhere there, Pam.
Do you know who this Phil Nezrella guy is?
I've heard of him.
Is TJ on your team also?
Who is TJ?
I don't know.
He might be TJ, we're gonna hold on to you until it comes time to take testimony, and then we will allow you to speak.
All right, I think everybody.
I think we're still waiting for Phil, Pam.
I thought I moved him.
I thought he popped up, but unless he's
Phil's in
hiding.
there.
again.
I think Phil was talking. I think he needs to
He's
unmute.
muted.
He's there.
Okay.
He's got to unmute himself and put his camera on. Oh.
We would ask that all panelists unmute themselves and turn on their cameras just for the record.
Sure.
Nope, he still hasn't done it. Scott, is he making your presentation?
You know, he's smarter than I am. I would prefer him to do it, but if he's, I'm sure he'll jump in at some point. I can certainly get started if you want, guys.
You can, please, Scott, if you don't mind. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, we have a preliminary subdivision plan at 42 Quincy Street for your review tonight.
Excuse me, Scott.
Yes,
I think I found the unmute button.
very good. Jump in, Phil.
All right.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll just make a couple introductory remarks. Michael, let me start the video here. So in any event, the property at 42 North Carey, Quincy Street, this is an ambitious 5-lot subdivision. When I say ambitious, I mean it is what I believe for the appreciation of not only that particular area, but all of the surrounding area. These lots are ambitious in the sense that they are not of small lot sizes. They go from 59,000 square feet to an average around 39,000 square feet. Most of them are over an acre. The smallest ones are 15,000 square feet, which is somewhat larger than a lot of the other lots in R1C zones in Brockton. So the purpose here and the intent was to take this parcel of land and to create almost what one would call like an estate lot, where you have a beautiful home on a large lot as you come down a driveway off of the street. Now, there aren't a lot of those in the city of Brockton because we've never designed a zoning ordinance to allow them. But this parcel would be right for that type of a project. And it also has the approval, the endorsement, and the cooperation with the neighbors to the left and the right, who also look forward to this type of a project, which they believe will not only enhance their property, appreciate their values, but beautify what right now is some broken down properties in a largely wooded lot. Now, I had reviewed the City of Brockton's Planning Board staff report. And quite frankly, I understand and don't rail against it. I think some of the points are valid, and they are in fact true. I disagree with the conclusion that because they are non-conforming, we deny this. Well, historically, most of the properties that come before the city are non-conforming, and that's the whole purpose of these boards, whether it be planning board, zoning, conservation, etc. If we were simply going to allow the progress and development of conforming lots, we wouldn't need any boards. We'd have like a vending machine, pop in the issue and it would pop out the answer. Here you always have in Brockton, how do you put a square peg in a round hole? And it depends upon how orderly you develop it and what the design layout and plan is. If we've addressed traffic, if we addressed lot size and setback requirements, et cetera. I also don't know if I disagree with Mr. Newton's analysis about the fact that you can't be under 50-foot frontage. We have a couple of lots that are about 45 feet in frontage. If that was the issue, and the board has concern about that, we have several other lots with 100-foot frontage. We could shave off 5 feet on those lots, put 5 feet on the 45-foot lot, and we would be in compliance. I think this plan brings a lot of positivity to that particular area. It's a street that has several lots that have been undeveloped throughout the city. And the fact that these do not conform does not surprise me in the sense that we're dealing with a zoning ordinance that's in zoning books that are 54 years old. The last adjustment we had on zoning ordinances comprehensively was 1967, 3 years after John F. Kennedy was shot. So it's very difficult for us, other than taking a case-by-case analysis of how we make a development appreciative and beneficial not only to the landowner, but to the city. I think this particular project balances both of those. Scott Farrier can address the details of it. I'd like to make some comments after, but I would like the board's mind to look at this in the sense that this is what boards do. We work to make adjustments. And in this particular project, not only after it comes out of the planning board, it goes to the zoning board for another set of scrutiny. And I think we all know, including Mr. Pina, what the burdens and challenges are before a zoning board. So this will be filtered and graded, but it should be, I think, closely looked at, because I think it's a very positive plan that we have for the city for this particular parcel. And I think it's only going to benefit all of the neighbors around. In fact, my understanding is that some of the neighbors that have already developed there or would like to develop are completely in favor of this. With those comments, Mr. Farrier, if you'd like to go into the engineering aspect.
Oh, thanks, Phil. As Attorney Nezarella said, we're looking to divide the property. The subject property has 4 acres of land. So we're looking to divide those 4 acres into the 5 lots. Lot 1 consists of kind of a large existing home with 2 barn-type structures, older structures on the property that are a little bit different. They have different levels, some garage doors underneath, old-fashioned barn doors that we're looking to preserve, which is why lot number 1 has the most acreage of all the lots. So that one has about 1.4 acres. And again, it's just to provide the owners of lot 1 the access and use of the 2 existing barns on the property. Lots 2 and 5, as we said, have 100 feet of frontage and 150 feet deep. We're showing a typical 28 by 40 colonial type dwelling with a garage under. It meets all of the zoning setback requirements. So even though the lot is undersized under the zoning bylaw, it still meets the setback requirements.
Excuse me, Scott, can you share the site plan, please?
Oh man, you're pushing your luck, Rob. I can try.
Just people are watching at home and elsewhere.
Yeah.
I just had a question
Oh, good.
asking, somebody just sent in an email asking where they could find it. So I'm sending them to the public drive on our website.
All right.
Scott,
Yes.
I mean, if you do it electronically, you're one up on me. See, this is how I would share the plan.
Just hold it. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of, but I think I can handle this, Mr. Pelagi. I think I can. I don't have my my normal technical help at home, so I'm kind of winging this on my own, but I think I can do it.
I think you can too.
All right, there we go. So, fortunately, I don't see you guys. Do we see that plan, Rob?
No, we do not.
All right, here we go. All right, share screen. Here we go. Okay,
Ah,
everybody have it now?
Yes,
We do
guys.
now.
Okay, great. Sorry for that. All right, so lot one, as I said, has the existing barn and dwelling on it. We're looking to keep that intact for the future owners of lot one. Lots 2 and 5 are the 100 feet by 150 feet. They have a 28 by 30, 28 by 40 foot colonial type dwelling on it with a garage under, meeting all the setback requirements. Lots 3 and 4 are the tricky ones. As Attorney Nezarella said, they're larger lots. We're looking to put the houses way in the back. In order to do that, we basically create what you would call in other cities and towns around an estate lot, where we have reduced frontage, in this instance, 45 and 45 feet, but we have a large area. We have 1 acre for lot 4, 0.9 acres for lot 3. So it's kind of, again, under most zoning, it's kind of a trade-off. You get reduced frontage and added area. Those homes as well, kind of large colonials with attached garages. So what we end up with are 4 new driveways heading out to Quincy Street. Each of the driveways will have a turnaround, so nobody will have to back out onto Quincy. Everybody will have the ability to drive out nose first onto Quincy Street. There's available water and sewer for each of the 5 homes. Again, the engineering department had some questions about the length of sewer and the need for a sewer manhole, and we can certainly meet that requirement as we get further down the road. But as you guys know, this is kind of just the first step. We need preliminary subdivision approval in order to get to the ZBA and see if ultimately they will grant the waivers that we're requesting for lot frontage and lot area on lots 2 and 5. So if we get your preliminary approval, we go to ZBA for their ultimate approval of the lot size. Then, as you know, we come back before you for definitive approval, where we can hash out all of those utility issues and whatever issues need to be resolved on Quincy Street.
Thank
I
you.
think that is a rundown of the project, Mr. Chairman, if there's any questions.
All right. I don't know if the board wants me to keep that. If you want to keep that up, you might as well keep it up. Do any of the board members have any comments?
Yeah, I'm not unmuted. I do have a comment. I'd just like to let everyone know that as a point of record, I do have a personal relation to this lot, being that I was a resident of a lot on 67 Debbie Road. I own that lot from 98 to 2008. I know for a fact that when the other lots up on 30 Quincy Street were built, there was some defoliage up along, and it occurred all down the back of Debbie Road. What I would like to propose is that there be a 50-foot buffer between all these lots and the lots on Debbie Road, and maybe make some maintenance of some of the foliage and maybe actually taking down all the dead trees that are there right now, because there is a problem with dead trees falling on sheds in people's backyards on Debbie Road right now. That's a major concern. And there are other issues that I've addressed with the property owner in regards to other issues. But I think this is a large parcel that's going to be developed, and I think this is a great use and a great proposal for development of the property.
Does anybody else have any other comments relative to the size and configuration of the lots? I mean, that's the most, I guess, the most paramount issue.
We've approved retreat lots like this in the past, and that's become something. When we have these types of properties, we've approved these retreat lots, and I don't see a problem with that.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Larry. So based on, I've heard that, discussions before on some of our other meetings about retreat lots in the frontage here. If this is approved, because it looks like a pretty good plan, what is the zoning board going to do with that as far as the frontage issue?
Well, the zoning board has to, well, we know that this is in an R1C. R1C is 175 feet of frontage and 30,000 square feet. So in other words, they're creating 5 lots that need relief in one fashion or another. You know, some of these lots comply area, some of them need relief for both frontage and area. In fact, some of these lots need frontage, area, and lot width. So, I mean, and to Attorney Nezzarella's point, the city of Brockton never adopted what we call estate lots or retreat lots. I did a little bit of research myself, and I won't belabor it, but I'll take a minute and share with you. I did a little research myself this morning. I've got a good friend of mine who's been a land surveyor for 50 years or so, who's worked in all the towns, and I picked his brain on all the surrounding towns. And typically, a typical retreat or estate lot that has a reduced frontage and excess area in the back, it's at least double. In other words, if you had, for example, if the city of Brockton is 30,000 square feet, you would give 60,000 square feet. If it's an acre minimum, you would give 2 acres. So, you know, to their point that they're giving excess land in the back, it's not, when you look at the estate lot or retreat lot concept, yes, they're big compared to Brockton, but these are not overly big as far as estate lots go and retreat lots. Although, and the other thing I want to clear up is I also agree with Attorney Nezzarella's interpretation that the minimum 50 feet is not in play. That's something that was taken from, I think it's taken out of context in the section of 2712 existing lots of record that says, and that deals with an existing lot of record that has to be 50 feet of frontage and 5,000 square feet. This is not the case. So there's some positives to this, but my concern is that I think it's very dense, especially when you consider what has been the norm, and maybe Mr. Pena could speak to this, what has been the norm that the Zoning Board of Appeals has been granting for lot sizes in certainly the last 18 months. But I mean, I understand that there's going to be situations in the city where you're going to have deep property that's a deep piece of property, but this seems to me to be, can I say, maybe a little over ambitious, I think. I don't know.
I don't see this as overly dense. I see this as a good use of the property, as opposed to another development that someone might come in and try to add more lots. I think, granted, the larger lots, lot 4 and lot 3 are 3 and 4 times the size of the average lot in the area. Lots 2 and 5 are also bigger than other lots in the area. I don't see how this derogates from the development of the neighborhood. I see it as an improvement. And from what I've heard from the neighbors, it is an improvement, because you realize that a parcel this size is going to be developed, and we're looking for the best possible plan for it. And I think that the neighbors want to see the best possible plan. I don't see any opposition to this from the people I've talked to.
Okay. Well, anybody have any other comments or concerns?
Do you mind if I make a point?
Yes,
more
good evening,
comment.
good evening, Mr. Morrison.
Thank you, Chairman Pelagi. Just a couple points. First, for the record, we've owned the property since the 15th of December. So although we had this under contract when we initially applied, we've become the title owner. And so we've become aware of some of the things that we have to do with the property. A maintenance of a 50-foot buffer between our property and the residents on Debbie Road makes entire sense, because one of the beauties of this property for 3 seasons, it's heavily foliated, it's intensely private, and it's kind of the nice individual aspect of this property. When we were in the process of purchasing it, I identified 4 abutters that we had to really reach out to. The school is across the street, the residents on Debbie Road, and to that end, I've had 2 meetings with Councilor Jeffrey Thompson and was able to meet, speak with them, walk the property, present the concept, and in my opinion, I believe he's in support of the proposal as we've presented. One point with the school is that if and when we were to develop, when it comes time to work in the road, we would obey any work in the road till the month of July and August, when the school at most would be in summer session, and we'd get off the road before September 1st. So school and life as we know it will resume when school returns. So that would be our intention with the school. Maintaining the buffer is kind of a courtesy to the residents on Debbie Road who do enjoy kind of a deep foliage right now. Remember Craig Pina's suggestion about removing a lot of the deadfall. This is actually an ideal time to do it because we know what trees are there or not. So in the next 2 months or so, there'll be a lot of cutting while we're trying to go through this approval process. At 30 Quincy Street, and 15 years ago is a lifetime, but at 30 Quincy Street, our neighbor David Lynch built not only a fabulous residence that he lives in, but he was approved for a 5-lot subdivision. And again, that was given the general sense of the times. 3 of the lots were basically 76 feet of frontage, about 8,000 square feet. One was at the end of Errol Road, and it was about a ½ acre. And David kept 2 of the 3 acres that he had for his own personal residence, and it's quite a property. When I met with him, and I've met with him on several occasions, he was more concerned about the development of the adjoining property because he has an extensive boundary between our property, 42 Quincy, and his. And certainly he wants something that would upscale his property. The houses that we're proposing are kind of consistent with the new trend of what's going on this side of Brockton. Up on the west side, we've got great development up off of Cypress Road, up off of Chilton, Rockland Street, et cetera. But this is beginning to evolve here in the east side of Brockton. The 2 colonials up front take advantage of a good sized home, but maximizing both green space and area and the ability to get cars in and out. The 2 cars out back are similar to what's being constructed up off of North Carey Street at the Curtin Farm subdivision that's ongoing right now. I believe Mr. Lynch is in support or in favor of something positive going on with the property. The family from whom we bought it, it's been kind of in a state, well, it certainly hasn't been enhanced for a number of years, and that would be our purpose or goal. The other abutter on the other side is the Bertarelli family. They own 14 acres, and they make no secret of the fact that somewhere down the road, they would look to develop their property. I've spoken with Michael Bertarelli, and other than the fact that he has no objection to what we're proposing, and so I made sure that we tried to at least reach out and identify concerns of the abutting property owners. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. I had one quick question, Mr. Morrissey. The 2 forward lots, those are by today's standards, those house footprints are small. Did you say those are proposed colonials?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir. They're 28 by 40 with a garage, with a 2-car garage under on each side.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other comments on the part of the board? I mean, obviously, everybody realizes the next stop for this would be the zoning board of appeals, but does any other board members have any comments or the part of or either the board members or the planning department?
I would actually like to bring to the board's attention that across from this is the Baker School, and having these 5 driveways would increase traffic and create traffic concerns.
Mr. Chairman, may I share my
I'm
screen
not
for
quite
just a
sure how
second?
that can occur. I understand what you're saying, but the Baker School, when they evacuate at the time they let out school, you have hundreds of cars and vehicles coming out. At most would be 3 to 5 cars, 5 cars coming out of this particular lot, and they all don't come out at the same time. The roadways are made for traffic to egress and access on. So because you're putting a structure that's going to contain a motor vehicle, I don't see how that's going to interfere or cause an adverse problem. Yes, there will be traffic, but whether or not it's adverse is questionable. and there's no evidence that it would be adverse, especially when you look at the difference in proportions. You got the Baker School with their buses and cars coming in at all hours of the day and during the school day and for the whole school year of 10 months, how that's going to be affected by 5 homes across the street. It's a point well
Mr.
taken,
Chairman,
but I don't think there's a lot of substantive merit to it, but I understand the concern.
All right, thank you, Counselor. Yes, Mr. May.
I hope you can see the screen that I have up, which is the GIS system of the city.
Yeah.
What Risa was reporting on is that you have a series of 4 driveways that are practically on top of each other that kind of align with this turn off and turn around. And that may be a concern that she was speaking of.
Yeah.
I do want to point out that if and I can blow this up a little bit more, as you can see, the rest of the neighborhood, we're dealing with 80, 76 feet of frontage, 88 feet of frontage. Even if you go back onto Debbie, you're dealing with hundreds of 100 feet of frontage. The department doesn't have a problem with the retreat lot concept, but I think that the 40 feet of frontage on these on lots 3 and 4 is a bit tight. We have not approved anything, and the Zoning Board of Appeals has not approved anything that's been under 75 feet, or excuse me, under 50 feet. And I would hope that we could see a larger lot frontage for those 2 lots, or even combining them and having a 4-house subdivision rather than a 3-house or a 5-house subdivision.
I think from what they said in the presentation, they're willing to extend the frontage on the driveways for the 2 retreat lots. But as far as I understand there's a confluence of 4 driveways. Would the developer be willing to flip the driveways on the 2 smaller lots so the driveways are more separated?
Absolutely.
We certainly could.
When I asked Scott to design the plan, he designed it exactly as I asked him. The moment we saw it on paper, I said, we've got to flip those 2 driveways. The lot 2 would easily able to flip it to a right hand, and for lot 5 would flip that to a left hand, and it removes that appearance of a lot of asphalt coming out at you on Quincy Street.
Yeah, we could certainly do that.
Because as a matter of traffic, I mean, the single family houses aren't going to add to traffic at all.
Right.
It's just the confluence of 4 driveways. I mean, there might, I'm sorry, my light just went out. There might be a time when 4 cars are coming out at the same time. But that's going to be few and far between.
Well, you might feel differently if you're a parent who used to bring your child in and out of Bates, that school, because I lived on Bates Road myself, so I agree with Riza. 2 more cars would be frustrating. It was terrible at
Well,
the
the
time when I was
traffic
bringing
there
my
is
child. But-
awful to begin with. I
Right,
don't
right.
think,
So 2 more cars would be frustrating.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I lived it. I
Yep.
lived it from the time he was in kindergarten until he went off to junior high. But can I ask Scott a
Sure.
question? I'm by no means an engineer or architect. Is there any way with the size of these lots to, if you're not going to consider going to 4 lots, could you move the houses back to give more frontage? Flip the driveways as I think Jim agreed to?
We can certainly flip the driveways, as we just said. That would certainly be doable on those 2 lots, on lots 2 and lot 5. Make them opposite of what they are now. Yeah, that's not a problem. That's a good idea, actually.
And what, would that give more frontage if you flip them? I mean, what's
It
the-
wouldn't give more frontage. It would just space out the curb cuts and not have them all coming out within that 100-foot area all in one place. It would just spread
but
them out a
I
little
think
bit.
instead of the 45 feet, for the retreat lots, instead of 45 feet, can there be 50 feet? I
Right.
think that's the question.
Oh,
Can you
certainly.
back
We'll
them
make
up?
those 2 lots 50 feet. Yes.
I think that's a reasonable modification to the plan.
You're saying, and then you're saying make the two front lots narrower, make them 95?
Why am I the
feet?
host now?
It's the only way to do it if
Yeah.
we stay
Yes.
with 5 lots. The problem with the property is the house, the barn, and the garage are significantly structurally sound. And it would be a travesty to take the property down to better utilize excess land. So we're working around the existing structures.
No, but you do have, I mean, I understand that, but
Yeah.
let's be clear, you have the opportunity of reducing your
Correct.
lot out. So, but, okay, so I think Tony's point, I don't want to
You can.
misspeak for her, but I'll try. I think she was suggesting that you make the two front lots a little bit deeper so that you can take the two front houses and push them back off the street a little bit more. Was that your point, Tony?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Because, yeah, realistically, folks, I mean, we can certainly, yeah, make those lots deeper and push the houses back a little bit, because really that area on those two, what I'm calling estate lots, lots 3 and 4, if, if we push those lots back another 25 feet, it doesn't really impact those two estate lots. They would still end up with a 100-foot front yard. They'd still have plenty of grass to cut on a Saturday. So we could certainly do that. We could increase the size of 2 and 5, the depth of 2 and 5, and push those houses even further back off of Quincy Street.
The only problem with lot 2, Scott, is the existing driveway, which are hoping to maintain
Yep.
To circumnavigate the 3 structures there.
yeah,
Yeah.
We have the benefit of a 75-foot rear yard setback, so we can actually set back without violating the rear yard setback. We could set
Right.
that back another 20 feet and still have a great backyard.
Sure. Yeah, we can definitely make that work.
I mean, as I mentioned earlier, Brockton doesn't have estate or retreat lot ordinances, but if it gives anybody any comfort, part of the research that I did today revealed that these other towns that do support estate or retreat lots, their frontages, minimum frontages are 40 or 45 feet. So the 45 feet that they're proposing, if you're looking at this as an estate or retreat lot perspective, it's not that unusual. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there. I mean, if you want to, I mean, does it seem reasonable? You want to come back with another iteration of this thing and see if it looks a little bit more palatable, I guess? I don't know.
I don't know if there's
Mr.
I don't know if there's a need to come back. I think, I mean, they flipped the driveways on the two estate lots. And
I'm not a big fan. We've learned this lesson, Craig. I'm sorry. I'm not a big fan of approving a plan that I don't see. I just don't like the concept of approving plans. I mean, if there's something that's got to be changed on a plan, some correction, that's one thing. But I'm not a big fan of a board approving a plan that we don't see.
Mr. Chairman,
The only thing, may I make a suggestion?
we also have some folks who would like to testify, abutters, and we haven't gotten to that part yet. So keep that in mind, please.
Yes, okay, yep. This is a preliminary plan, so it's not a public hearing, but
Test.
if are you recognizing someone that would like to speak there, Rob?
Mr. Pelagi?
Yes, sir.
I respect your concern about approving a plan that you don't see. However, if I may suggest this as an option, if the board states this is how we want that plan to result by having the 45 go to 50 feet, and we make those modifications absent returning again, and this is simply for time frame, coming back to the board and proceed to the zoning board, that's not only going to be in writing, but you're also going to have your liaison, Mr. Peener, at the zoning board. So if we present to the zoning board a plan still showing the 45 feet or not having made any of the modifications, your suggestion, I think we have a big problem there. So
And
I just
I
think
agree.
it stretches out the time frame needlessly to agree to those modifications the board is suggesting, but they have to come back and say, here it is. We that plan is going to go before the zoning board with the recommendations in the statements made by this board, as well as your liaison to the zoning board of appeals.
The fact of the
I
matter
don't
that
see
this is a
jeopardy that would be caused to the integrity of the decision made by the planning board.
I just think I appreciate that, Counselor. I just think that nothing beats seeing the plan. I mean, we're talking about making the changes. First of all, Pam, how long do we have with a preliminary plan? How long do we have to make?
You would have it,
45 days, I believe.
yeah, so you don't, without their agreement to a continuance?
We would agree. We would agree one way or the other.
I just don't think that this, any project, or this project is in such urgency that we can't see. I would like to at least, I think, in fairness to the board and the planning department, I would like to see what the plan looks like after the changes are made. I'm sorry.
No
I would
question.
say that this is a preliminary plan and it still has to come back to us as a definitive, and it has to go to zoning.
Well, it can go from, if we give this our blessing, if the second iteration of this, that's my concern. If we give this, the revision of this plan our blessing, this plan in its revised form is going to the zoning board. That's my point.
But we're approving a preliminary, and when it comes to zoning, it's got to have the changes. And when it comes back to us, it'll have the approved changes from zoning. This is just a preliminary.
Yes, but I mean, they can use, if we approve this preliminary and give it our blessing, the revised or upgraded preliminary plan, they can use that to go to the zoning board of appeals, Mr. Pina.
Agreed. So
They can use it. So I would like to see, for my part, I would like to see, I don't know if how the other board members feel, but we've run into this problem before, misunderstandings about what we thought. I just can't appreciate that we can't take another meeting cycle to see what this plan is going to look like before we send it on its way.
Mr. Pelagi, speaking only for myself, we would agree if you would allow us to come back to the next meeting to make those changes. This is a very informative meeting. It's what we had hoped to accomplish in a preliminary planning board meeting.
Yeah, that means that you'll have to agree to extend the time clock on your preliminary plan.
Is that okay, Phil?
Yes.
Attorney Nazarello, I will send you the form tomorrow and you can fill it out and send it back to us.
That's fine.
All right, very good. I think we have something. Would someone like to make a motion, please?
Mr. Palashi.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, this is not a hearing, but we do have Counselor Jeffrey Thompson, and we
Please.
have an abutter, TJ, if you would like to recognize him, that is the board's prerogative.
Okay,
And I did receive a letter from David Lynch. He was the only abutter that he sent in an email earlier saying that he had spoken with Mr. Morrissey, and they had satisfied his concerns and he was in favor.
all right, very good. So we would like to recognize, who is it, Mr. May, Jeffrey, would that be Counselor Thompson?
Counselor Thompson, if he would like to unmute himself, TJ is going to come back to the next meeting and once the plans are revised. So Counselor Thompson would like to address the board. Please unmute, turn on and jump in. There he
Thank you.
is.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I believe I had an opportunity to walk this property and also to review the plans that Mr. Feria presented tonight. I think this board has come to a reasonable decision on again looking at increasing those lots 3 and 4's frontage from 45 to 50, and also to reverse the driveways on both lots 3 and 4. I think that's a reasonable compromise. Additionally, I am a proponent of the 50-foot buffer from the rear property line. I think there are some really nice trees in the back there that would provide some screening between the houses, the abutters on Debbie Road and this property. I also do appreciate the statement from the developer, Mr. Morrissey, regarding doing the majority construction of this property during the summer months. I did speak to him about that and was concerned about some of the construction happening during the school year and interfering with the school traffic. And so he has stated that he would try to do the majority of the construction on this property during the summer months so as not to have construction traffic interfere with school traffic. I look forward to this matter going before the zoning board, taking another look at the plans to address some of the issues brought by this board. And at this point, I do approve of this project and look forward to getting this done. I think that the east side of Brockton needs new construction, new single-family home construction. I know Mr. Morrissey's work. I know the type of homes he builds, the quality of housing that will be in this area. I think will increase the property values of all abutters. And I look forward to seeing these 5 high-end single-family homes in this corridor from basically the corner of Quincy and Quincy Court down to Mr. Bartarelli's property. So I think this will, really bring some new higher-end housing to this area. And I think it can only benefit the neighborhood in the east side of Brockton. I appreciate all your time, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
thank you. I had a problem with my microphone earlier. I would just like to suggest to the applicant that they strongly investigate a residential sprinkler for the 2 far back houses. They're 280 feet off the roadway and they'd make it difficult to fight a fire in those buildings. A residential sprinkler isn't a separate system that has to be installed. It's basically an extension of the domestic water pipes in the building. They use PEX tubing just like you do for your regular hot and cold water type of thing. And if they want to call me tomorrow, I can lead them in the right direction to investigate it.
I will call you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
all right, well, let's see, so we have, I believe we have an understanding, so this was going to require, I'm sorry, Mr. May, was there someone else that wanted to speak?
No, he will be coming back to the next meeting once the plans are redrawn.
Okay, so Pam, administratively, you need from the applicant an extension?
Yeah, and I'll send that to Phil tomorrow morning. And he can just email it back to me, or I can send it to Scott, either one.
Attorney Nezarella.
So we need a motion to
If you send
continue.
it to me, I'll
However,
get right
no, you need a motion. You need a motion to continue, but I would suggest that you put in that motion everything you want to see in that revised plan so that there's no misunderstanding when they.
Motion to continue with the addition of the 50-foot buffer on the back lot lines. The changing of the arrangement of the driveways in the front lots and extending the frontage on the retreat driveways to 50 feet.
And reducing
What
the
was-
smaller lots.
Right.
Wait a minute, wait, I lost, all right, so you've got the 50-foot buffer along Debbie?
Yes,
Yes.
along the back property line.
Driveways are to be flipped.
2 and 5.
With a 50-foot frontage on the retreat driveways.
Lots to be. Do you want those other lots pushed back, Tony?
That was 3 and 4, correct?
Well, they said that they would, well, the one that you can push back, maybe that would be, they said they'd run into it. Unless, here again, that's why it's important to see this on another plan, because Mr. Farrier, do you think that there's a possibility that you could revise the driveway servicing the existing house so that you could push the 2 front houses back a little bit? Is that possible?
we really can't push the lot line for lot 2 back. We can certainly push the lot line for lot 5 back, but we can push both of those houses back. We've got a 75-foot rear yard where we only need 30. So we have plenty of room to physically push those houses back, get them off of the street more
Yeah,
than
not dramatically. You want to leave them with a rear yard. But
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
But another-
houses on the plans right now are substantially, the lot is substantially larger than the other lots on Quincy Street.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can push the house back by 20 feet.
okay. Does that satisfy you, Tony?
Well, that's, because the issue here was not enough frontage, so that's gonna push back 3 and 4 and allow for at least a minimum of 50.
Correct.
Correct, okay. And Mr. Pina also asked that the dead trees be taken down, Sam.
The dead trees, yes.
Weather permitting, of course.
Yeah. All right, so we have an agreement with the applicant, I assume.
Yes.
Very good. So the motion has been made. Has there been a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded with the details attached. A vote on the roll call. Larry Hassan,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez,
Yes.
Reggie Thomas,
Same.
Pete, oh, you abstain?
Yep.
Craig Pina
Yes.
and Bob Pelagi is a yes.
Thank you, folks. See you in a month.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, I believe we have a lot of participants. Next one.
yeah. I'm
Okay,
gonna-
the next property is the Cypress Drive subdivision.
Yeah,
Would the presenting team please raise your hand so that we can move you up to panelist? Those presenting the case, the engineering team, the architects.
Azusa been moved.
Good evening. I don't see raise my hand with, but I'm here.
I'm going to move Counselor Cruz.
Yes, please.
And
yeah, we're just waiting, Azu, we're just waiting for everybody to join the meeting.
okay.
Thank you.
I think that might be, who, are there other property owners that are part of this?
I don't think there's other property owners, but I believe there are other residents.
Or the development team? Mr. Heichel here?
Mr. Hackle, are you here? I was speaking with him, and I believe Mr. Cospio Polis is here.
I see Mr. Heichel with Art Kotsiopoulos.
Okay. All right, there they are.
Oh, they're sitting together.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think everybody's been moved.
Mr. Nezrella, are you part of this presentation?
Might be in a butter.
What happened to my,
Phil, could you unmute? Could you unmute, please?
I don't know who we're hearing.
Who's got their radio on?
Can you remute those people and see if it's one of them? It's got to be somebody that just got unmuted.
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
While we were just talking with Blaine, I do believe we got a little more vote coming in, so let's go over to Steve.
Nope, that was not it.
You can just take a look at the scattering of votes you have statewide. This is the ASA Purdue race.
I don't know who that is.
1,000 votes to show you this is the Warnock Leffler race. Those two, almost exactly the same.
Does anybody have their TV on in the background?
I may have radio on.
Oh. Oh, well, we found it.
Sorry about that. I thought I was far away enough.
No.
So would it appear as though we have all the concerned parties, Mr. May?
I'm moving him back, so.
Okay.
There are people with their hands up and
I'll
they,
just move them in.
because I see a lot of abutters there.
Azu, would you like to start your presentation now?
Sure.
You want to announce the item, Mr. May, or do you want me to, now that we have everybody on?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, excuse me.
Okay.
Please
All
go
right.
ahead.
For the record, this is a definitive subdivision. The property is at 53 Cypress Drive, and it looks like 300 Rockland Street. It's a 5-lot residential subdivision, and the representative is ET Engineering. Again, this is a public hearing, a definitive subdivision. Good evening, Azu.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Let's see. I am home as well, and I'm not sure if I can share my screen. I think last time Mr. May was able to allow me to cheat with him sharing.
I can share my screen if you would like that.
Azu, which sheet would you like him to post?
Basically, if you can show, basically, I want to just use 2 sheets: the definitive subdivision layout and the existing conditions, if you will.
Okay.
So that will be sheets. So I believe it's sheets 2 and 3.
Okay, I just have one administrative point or question. It's been brought to my attention.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's been brought to my attention that you have not filed this subdivision with either or we don't have a response from either the Board of Health as a definitive subdivision or the city clerk. There's no notification there. So, Mr. May, procedurally, do we go ahead with this, or do we have to wait for those filings to be confirmed, or what is the planning department's position on that?
I would recommend that we not make that the board not make a final decision until that has been confirmed.
Okay, but we can go ahead with the public hearing.
I think you should be able to hear the public hearing.
Very good, sir. All right, well, again, good evening. I'm sorry to interrupt you again. Continue, please, Azu.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you for indulging us. And Mr. May, thank you for sharing the file. I appreciate you. And again, I think the planning group honoring you as the planner of the year. This again exemplifies why they do that. That there's some expertise and not just a paper pusher. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I need to
remember, I don't have a vote.
That's okay. That's okay. But
he's hoping that you do.
No, he doesn't. But I still am entitled to make good comments when they are appropriate. You know. But basically, this sheet that is being shared right now is the existing site conditions. Basically, you have 3 properties that are involved. If you're looking at the north points to the top of the page, and Cypress Street will be to the north, and Rockland Street is to the Rockland Street will be west. So the existing 2 properties, number 300 Rockland Street and number 53 Cypress Street. We do have a small property that we identified as 0 Rockland Street, which, if I may at this point, indicate that that property will be discontinued from being part of this subdivision. So what I'm hoping to do this evening is to introduce the project, and then we're going to be asking for a continuation of the hearing so that we can submit to the staff an updated plan eliminating that parcel. And if you look at it, Mr. May, if you can zoom into my title block, and I will probably identify it is that little rectangular piece to the southeast corner of the land in question. And if you look at my title block, it's referred to, if you hold it right there, yes, sir. It's assessors map number 10, lot number subblock 102. So that will be eventually in the revised plan that we making will be eliminated from that. If we can then go to sheet number 3, Mr. May, the lot plan. Thank you, right there. Yeah, excellent. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. The subdivision basically includes the existing houses, the one at number 300, and then the number 300 Rockland Street, and the one at number 53 Cypress Street. We are proposing a roadway. We're calling it Evolix Drive. It'll come in and travel southerly from Cypress Street, and then we'll turn westerly to the terminus point where we have the cul-de-sac. The lots that we are proposing all have at least 100 feet of frontage, and 2 of them exceed the minimum lot area required for the residential 1C district. Obviously, we have reduced frontage. The required frontage in this district is 175 feet. We are obviously will be under the 175 feet. However, we anticipate going to the Board of Appeals. If you recall, the process that we used to employ would be to go to the Board of Appeals to review the frontage reduction as well as the lot square footage reduction. But the city, in its wisdom, changed the procedure. So we start with the planning board and we go to the Board of Appeals. The road that we have here meets your 50-foot right-of-way requirement and the cul-de-sac requirement. We will be able to provide a 34-foot traveled width and sidewalk on one side. Several waivers that we're going to be requesting in order to minimize the disturbance of the area and to reduce our impact on the wetlands, which if you look at the project to the southeast, we do have wetlands resource in that area. So one of the waivers that we're going to be requesting of this board is to allow an offset pavement so that we will shift the pavement so that the pavement is not centered within the layout in order to, again, reduce any impact in the wetlands. We will be able to detain and retain all runoff from the road as well as the individual lots to meet the 100-year storm event requirements, including the city's ordinance for MS4 stormwater management consistent with the EPA and DEP's current guidelines and regulations. So that is the overview of the project. And I won't entertain any comments or questions, but keep in mind that we would look to continue this hearing and then be able to adjust the layout to eliminate the 0 Rockland Street that was part of the original submittal. And I will, Mr. Chairman, I will make this statement. We do have a receipt. We contacted at the time we filed the application. We contacted the Office of the Board of Health, and they made an appointment, and we were able to have them meet us at their entrance door. They accepted the plans, and they gave us a receipt. So I do have a receipt from the Board of Health.
Okay.
The Office of the City Clerk, and told us no. They gave us an appointment, and then they called us back and canceled the appointment and said, no, we're not going to meet anybody in person. Send what you need in the mail. So your office was generous enough. I will again, and I know Pam doesn't have a voting thing in this, and Raisa doesn't. Okay, but I do say that I like the way your staff run the office. Even when they disagree with me, I still think that they do a good job of keeping everybody informed and moving things along. So
Thank you. Thank you for that.
I can still make a positive of what they do, and they do a very dang good job. So with that, I will zip my mouth, and then I will entertain questions or comments, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Okay, members of the planning board, let's start there. I have some comments and some concerns. I guess I'll save my comments and concerns till the end, but members of the planning board, let's start there and share with all your comments and concerns as you see them, please.
I don't see many concerns. I mean, as the planning board member to the zoning board, I'm looking, you did mention, Azu mentioned the frontage, and this lot, this project is full of a bunch of odd shaped lots, and the hardship of size and shape is definitely comes into play here. So I really don't see any problems with this on my end.
Okay, any other comments on the part of the board members? All right. Well,
Tony, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Tony had asked that I put the aerial up, and I didn't know if she had any questions regarding that. I can't see what I'm projecting. So is the ortho GIS map up?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it shows up pretty good.
Yeah, thank you. I just can't see well on the printout or what was on the screen, but I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments on the part of the board? Well, my comments and concerns, and I'm sure you're aware of it, Azu is a veteran engineer and land surveyor. I'm sure you're aware that's probably part of why you want a continuance, is because when you hold up this definitive subdivision plan against Brockton's subdivision rules and regulations, you're deficient in many ways. You probably realize that. For example, you don't have a profile, you don't have drainage, you're not showing any drainage, you don't have drainage calculations. There's many things that are, without enumerating them all, that's probably why you're asking for continuance. That's a general comment. My specific concern is with lot number 3. I think there was a drafting error that was made there, or a design error was made. The minimum setback in a residential lot in Brockton is 30 feet. You're showing 20 feet. If you close that building envelope on lot number 3 down to what is minimally required, you can't establish a house on lot number 3.
What are you referring to as
well, if you look at your minimum setback on lot number 3, you've got your dashed line that represents your building blocks, and you're showing
Yes.
20 foot. So I thought it was, I grabbed my scale, because I still have a set of scales, and I threw a scale on that, and it is graphically, it says 20 feet, and it's graphically showing 20 feet. If you open that up to 30 feet, which it should be, and I don't even know these days, Azu, in my working days, every building administration interpreted the definition of setback, front and yard setback differently. Some wanted the stairs, some wanted the edges of decks, and you get the idea. So you're not going to have a viable building box, when you close that building box down to what is allowed, you're not gonna have a building box on lot 3.
I'll take a look at it, Mr. Chairman, but the way I'm looking at it, the 20 feet from the existing house lot line, I look at that as a side setback, and that's 20 feet. The
But
front,
you're showing, well, you're showing the, aren't you showing the front door on your new road?
yeah,
You're showing the,
it'll be 30 feet from the new road all around.
no, you're showing, if I'm, unless I, it doesn't, you're showing, unless I'm misinterpreting your graphic, you're showing the front door, the front of the house, you're showing the front of the house on the L of the new road there.
Right, that is just graphic. We can eliminate that. That's not a problem. We can eliminate that.
Can you let the dogs out? Ebony's barking.
You would have to turn the house in the other direction, because as I'm sure you know, when you orient, the front yard setback is, the orientation for that is based on where the front door is. And based on your graphic, you don't meet your rear yard setback.
We will clean that up, Mr. Chairman.
Well, that's my comment. You can't, again, I think you understand my point, but the way you've oriented that house, you can't comply with minimum rear yard setback. If that bump out in the front represents the front door, I took it to mean that the house was facing the L on the new road, you don't have rear yard setback, but that's my comment.
But and I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman, and that also could be a subject for a variance with the Board of Appeals.
Azu,
Yes, sir.
on the drawing that I have up, I hope you can see my cursor. Is this the
Yes.
front of this house?
Right now, that is the side, but we can turn that house around a little bit.
Okay, so that, if this were the front, obviously the driveway's coming in the rear, this becomes a side yard and not a backyard.
Right, and that would be only 20 feet. That's 15 feet required. 15.
That's what I thought you were proposing.
Right,
Yes, sir.
but again, just to be clear, the way it's showing right now, Rob, he doesn't have
Correct.
a compliant rear yard.
We will address that, Mr. Chairman, and then take care of that.
Any other comments on the part of the board members? Any comments on the part of the planning department, please?
Raisa?
My biggest concern is that it's on the 20 feet buffer zone, and that automatically makes them have to go through Conservation Commission first.
We do plan on going before the Conservation Commission with the once we adjust the buildings. I would make this comment too, though, that we will have to go regardless, even if we are 50 feet away from the wetlands, we'll still have to go to the Conservation because 100 feet establishes its jurisdiction. So we do expect to go to Conservation Commission.
Azu, are you moving the roadway out of the 25-foot no touch?
No, because at the end of the day, what we have to do is when we go to Conservation Commission, we can propose certain enhancements in that area. At the end of the 25 feet, that's why we are asking for a waiver on the location of the improved width of the roadway, because what you're looking at is right of way, not actual improved width. So we're going to be asking the board for a waiver to shift the road so it's not centered within the layout, and that will increase the distance from the actual paved improved way of the roadway away from the wetlands. But I also will suggest that we have to go to conservation obviously, but I will note that the 25 feet is a desirable policy of the commission, but it's also not I want to make sure that we understand that it's also not a regulatory requirement.
You are correct.
It's a policy requirement, it's a policy desire. And so we have to address that with the Conservation Commission. And we'll hope that when we revise the plans, it'll be done in a way that is sensitive to the statutory interests of the Wetlands Protection Act.
There are a lot of people here.
All right. I think if we're done with that part of the hearing, in other words, the board members apparently are satisfied, temporarily satisfied at this point, and the planning department is, Mr. May, this being a public hearing, I wonder, does everybody have a microphone? Can everybody hear the meeting now, Mr. May? I would hope they can.
I believe so. And out of respect for his position, we may want to ask Councilor Cruz, the ward councilor, to start the discussion from the abutters point of view.
Yes, and I would ask, good evening, Mr. Cruz. Are you there, Counselor?
Good evening, Mr. Pelagi. And actually, I know the zoning usually, I just soon let the neighbors speak first, and then I'll finish up.
Okay, I was hoping to eliminate or reduce. These things can get repetitive, and I was hoping to either eliminate or reduce the repetitiveness of the comments. If there was, do you know, Mr. Cruz, is there an identified spokesperson for the abutters? Do you know?
I don't believe there is, and I can speak first if you'd like me to.
That would be helpful. Yes, because if you can.
And I will say up front that I do want to let it be known that one of the abutters is a relative of mine, so I just want that known. But I've heard from several of the neighbors, and when I look at
a fine, upstanding citizen of Brockton he is.
I believe so too, but I just want to make sure that that I stated that so that nobody could. I don't want to be accused of hiding that, but when I look at this, I see requests for properties for exemptions to almost every subdivision point that, as far as the street goes, that I believe we have. I see, to get to a meeting and find out that one whole part of the plan is being taken out, that map 10 lot, sublot 102, I guess it is, being taken out. I don't see how this could be built and match. I listened to two of your earlier hearings, and both of them talked about how it fit in with the neighborhood. This is probably the finest neighborhood in the city of Brockton. And what I look at, I don't see any way it can match the quality of what happens in this neighborhood. The houses seem too small. I don't understand how the drainage could be handled. And again, that isn't necessarily all yours, but I don't see how the drainage can be handled and not affect all of the houses in the area. It's very close. The depths of some of these lots against other neighbors is minuscule, and I just don't see how it can work in that way. We'd be creating they'd be creating their own hardships to be going to the zoning board of appeals, and then I'd be at that meeting where they claim they had a hardship, but they'd be creating their hardships by creating the street, which the off-center thing, I'm not in favor of it. The look and the curb appeal is so important, particularly up in that neighborhood. I guess I'll let it go and let some of the neighbors speak, but it just seems like we're trying to pound a round peg into a square hole here. This, I think most of you are aware of, where this is, what piece of property this is. And I just don't see how we can fit this much in there. And again, to come in and ask for an exemption on almost every single part of the roadway build out, just because that's the only way the roadway can be built to satisfy the Wetlands Act and policies, is just, there's a reason those policies are there. So I'm very much against this and I appreciate, and again, some of the people involved are friends of mine, but it's just, I have to stand up for the neighborhood and it's just, this doesn't fit there. And I think, there are people, some of you live up that way and I think you know that also. So I'll take it at that and hopefully some of the neighbors can not belabor, but let you know how they feel about it. And thank you for letting me speak and thank you. You're doing a great job. I know how hard it is to run a Zoom meeting, Bob, and you're doing a great job. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, Counselor. Thank you. Is there a representative that would like to speak in behalf of the neighbors so that we can minimize some of the repetition? I think it's important to get all of the points out. We need to hear them for sure, but we'd like to, if you can pick or assign a representative, that would be helpful.
I believe the Evans Mills would like to speak. So if you will unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Vance Mills. To my left is my wife, Valencia Evans Mills. We are the owners of 211 Fairview Avenue, and we are also the owners of, I think it's
Lot 10.
Lot 140R, which Mr. Etonuri responded to as, referred to as Lot 102, that is no longer in the plans anymore. We're opposed to the development. We did, however, entertain it at some point in time because we were approached by two individuals. The first person who approached us was Mr. Art Castapoulis. And Mr. Castapoulis approached us to basically, in short, give him our property that's behind our house, which is the property that you see, which is lot 140R, sublot 102.
And so for clarity, sir.
Yes, sir.
That parcel that you just identified, map 10, lot 140R, is your property. It's your property, and that's not part of this development?
It is not.
It is not.
It is not part of the development. However, Mr. Katapoulis approached me and requested that I give him the property. I then told him that maybe we can come to some other sort of agreement. He informed me that the property was worthless and that he was going to just beautify the area based on the subdivision that they were going to put in. It is unbuildable, it is wetlands, and I knew that when I purchased the home at 211 Fairview Ave. So I started to do my research, and one of the first phone calls I made was to Mr. Heichel. I know Mr. Heichel from the neighborhood. I've been a resident of Brockton for over 18 years. We just purchased this house here on the west side about 2 years ago. I called Mr. Heichel just to get an idea of what that parcel of land might be worth and how I can find out what it is actually worth. Mr. Heichel then informed me that he was a part of that particular development and then proceeded to entice me to sell it to them or ask me what is it that I wanted for it. I had no intentions of selling it in the first place, but I wanted to know what it was worth. So I continued to do my homework. Mr. Heichel then took liberties at, again, trying to entice me to sell it. He then offered me approximately $10,000 to sell. And he also, at one point, said that he was going to bring by some plans, which I have here. He showed me the plans. He gave me a copy of the plans. The day that he said he was coming by to bring me a copy of the plans, he also showed up with a document stating that he was under deadline to submit to the City of Brockton Planning Board. And this application that he gives me, he requests for me to sign it on the spot. And I took the document and I looked at it and I said, well, you know, I would definitely have to have an attorney look at this document before I signed it. I then took a copy of the document. I made a copy of it. I gave him back the originals. And then later on, as I looked at it, I noticed that he gave me two pages of this document.
Mr. Evans,
First page,
Mr. Evans,
Mr. Mills.
no, Mr. Evans,
No, my name is Mills. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mills, pardon me,
Yes.
my apologies. What we're looking for at this stage, and I appreciate you sharing that experience, what we're looking for at this stage, as far as a butter input or butter comments is, and again, this sounds like it's been a long a trail for you, but we'd like to hear your comments about your comments as a direct abutter as to your comments or your impression of the development, more than the details of your own trials and tribulations, if you could, please.
Okay, if I may, and I'll try not to take up too much more of your time, but this document that he tried to get me to sign was an 8-page document of which he only presented me 2 pages of and asked for my signature. This would impact us. We purchased this property because we liked the serenity and the quietness of this area. If a development goes up behind us, that is going to take away from that quietness and serenity that we have. We've moved into this to be our forever home. I'm looking at retirement in the next 4 years, and I'm looking at just that. And I want to have the serenity and the peace and quiet. My wife has something she would like to say, though.
Okay.
Just to answer your question, in regards to them building in that area, I am going to reiterate. In the search of looking for homes, we initially my husband was hooked on that we should do new build, and I was clear, I don't want new build, I want character. This whole area is character. You're not going to build character behind me. And I feel like that's going to take away from what's already here. That's what I wanted to share.
All right, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Are there any other abutters or any other concerned citizens that want to speak relative to the development of this project? You recognize any, Mr. May?
Oh, I'm sorry. If you are in the panelist section and would like to speak, please, you're free to unmute your microphone. We've moved Mr. Packard and another couple of people forward. We also have in the panelist section, Attorney Nasrallah, a person named Bob, and any of those people who would like to testify, please unmute your microphone and
Denise.
When Denise
Denise is here.
Yes,
Denise,
good
can you
evening.
get your last name and address?
Denise Dragonetti lives at 233 Fairview, and I abut the up and coming Lot 5. I wish you could have come to my house on Christmas Day when we got 2 inches of rain, and there were probably still 6 inches of snow left on the ground, and my garage completely flooded. I live in a wetlands. I abut Lot 5. If you'd like to walk down there with your boats, go ahead. Make sure they're really tall. It is so mucky and wet. It's wetlands. So when I see a proposed house, it's going to be barely 20 feet, the actual home, 20 to 30 feet away from my fence. It's like going to be in my backyard. Where will the deer live that come through on a regular basis every single morning that live in that area? I'm very upset.
Yeah, I'm looking at the plan as you're speaking. Is it Miss Dragonetti?
Mrs., yes.
Pardon me, Mrs. Dragonetti. And I'm looking at the plan as you're speaking. The proposed dwellings are a substantial distance away from the back of your property.
I saw it between 233 and 223. 233 and 223 are neighbors, and we saw the proposed home right in our own backyards.
No, there's let's see, I've left my scale in the room, but no, the proposed dwellings, they're not. I'm looking at the site plan here. You are lot 143, sublot 28, it says.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, the proposed dwellings are, let's put it this way, your house is to the left and right of your existing house is closer than what they're proposing. I just
Okay.
wanted to clarify that. It's, but
Well,
please continue with your
Well, I
comment.
apologize. Something may have changed since I knew where the house was actually going to go 30 feet from my fence.
No,
And I will take another look. But again, where are the deer supposed to go? They come through my yard every day.
all right, thank you. Did that complete your comments?
Yes, it does.
All right, thank you very much. Was there anybody else that had comments relative to the project? I see someone, how about Mr. and Mrs. Packard, is it, Rob? Can you acknowledge them?
If the Packards would like to unmute your microphone, you're more than welcome to speak. Your microphone should be in the lower left corner of the Zoom window.
Right there, unmuted.
She's got it.
No, you were there.
I don't know, you probably would hope that I would put it back on because we have a lot to say. We're gonna keep it short.
Okay, in the interest of time, I would ask Mr. and Mrs. Packard that have you heard the comments that have been made to this point?
We have, and I would consider that I would be a direct abutter to this proposal that's coming up, and I haven't heard anything, we haven't heard anything about it until just recently.
Tonight.
And I'm kind of like taken by it because it seems a little underhanded. And regardless of what's going on, we built in '98 and we did this with the concern of everything staying the same.
Where are you? What's your location, please, sir?
We're at 69 Cypress. We're on the east side of the.
Oh, I see it. Yeah. Okay, so you're on the, yep, I see you.
We haven't been informed about anything, and I'm just saying that we didn't want to see any development at all.
You didn't, and so you didn't receive notice? You didn't receive notice by certified mail?
No, we just received about, I think it was
Yesterday.
certified letter that we were supposed to receive that the mail carrier didn't bring up to the house, even though we were home. And we haven't been really enlightened about anything that's been going on.
Well, that's all they're required to do, sir. No, I'm not trying to minimize it, but they're required.
I understand.
We didn't receive the letter. We did not receive the letter. All as we received in our mailbox was a certified note saying we needed to go to the post office. That was it.
That's because the postman wasn't able to deliver it for whatever reason. You were at home, you couldn't get a signature.
And there's other people in the neighborhood that just received the letter today. So
Okay,
it's just,
but okay, I just wanted to make sure because the applicant is compliant with the regulations. That's all.
This is true, but I just want to go on record just by saying that we're opposed to this 110%, and we'll do everything to stop it.
Okay. Did you have any specific issues that have not already been made?
nope.
Not at this time.
All right, thank you very much. Rob, do you recognize anybody else that wishes to speak?
Bob, I'd like to just finish up before you close the hearing. If
Oh,
there's
we're not
no-
going to close it. Go ahead, Councilor Cruz, yes.
Thank you. I think it's pretty striking to me that if you look at that plan, that the Packards were never approached. I think there's a legal question whether they will even be part owner of what will become a private way. Again, I think that this whole plan doesn't need, in my opinion, to be continued. I have full respect for this board, but this is a plan that there's no good thing in this plan. The neighbors have barely been spoken to. The fact that the people who will be sharing essentially that street the Packards were never approached by this development team, I think shows that this project just doesn't belong in there. It is trying to just be jammed in. It doesn't belong. I don't see how we can approve a subdivision that is asking for almost every regulation in the city to be waived. So I would ask the board, and again, I'd ask the board to vote no on this tonight, and let's be done with this. Thank you. Thank you for your attention, everybody.
Thank you. Do you recognize anybody else that wishes to speak? Mr.
Somebody's
Mac-
got a hand up.
I'm sorry?
Did you just? I think somebody else wants to speak. Corey? Paulin?
Yes, Paul and Mary Beth.
Good evening. Could you identify yourself, please?
Yes, Mr. Paul Corey, 82 Cypress Drive.
You're at 82 Cypress.
Yes, I'm not a direct abutter, but I just want to reiterate what Councilor Cruz had already stated, that this development absolutely does not belong in this area, and they're trying to jam it down the throats to try and make a quick buck. It really doesn't belong here. It doesn't fit with the neighborhood. And we built in 97, thinking this area, would stay the way it is. And there's been other interests coming in from Chilton Road, but I guess that's another issue, not for tonight, but. And that's all I really wanted to reiterate what Mr. Cruz said. He said it so eloquently.
All right, thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you. Anybody else that you recognize, Pam or Mr. May?
I recognize some abutters, but I'm guessing they don't want to speak, so
Okay, they're not asking to
their
speak.
hands are not up.
Okay, well, back to the board. I've expressed what my concerns are. That lot number 3 is very troubling to me. I think the fact that they're gonna take that lot and they're gonna put it up on blocks and see if they can squeeze, and I mean squeeze a house in there. And I think if you put a very slender house, you could probably meet the spirit of, if you turn it 90 degrees, because graphically they're facing the L-shaped proposed street there, but you could probably do it, but it's not consistent with what's in the neighborhood. That's my personal opinion. I personally have concerns about the whole subdivision, the spirit of it, the way it's designed, and the way it's fit in there. I just have some very strong concerns about it. And again, we've already spoken about the deficiencies of the plan as a definitive subdivision plans. It would certainly need to be a complete filing. We don't need to belabor the list of requirements of a definitive subdivision plan in the city of Brockton, but it would need a lot of, and I don't have to, I'm sure Azu is aware of that. He is a veteran land surveyor and a veteran engineer, so he's aware of that. But those are my comments. Any other comments on the part of the board?
I also live on Fairview Ave, so I have to agree with the issue with the, deers there. This is a very busy road on Fairview, and the deers are still everywhere. So I agree with that concern. And can I ask a question? In this type of situation, should they have gone to conservation first? Well, what's the order? Should that have happened first to avoid even having to bring this in front of us?
Well, they should have at least, typically, you would at the very least, and someone jump in, and if I make a misstatement, you would at least file concurrently so that you had that action going on at the same time. Because as we all know, and as I'm sure the developer knows, in the process of filing with Concom, there's a lot of issues that come up that have influences on the plan that are going to influence or change the plan in its final version that would come to us. So they should have, if not gone first, they should have filed at least concurrently anyway.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Well, I've expressed my concerns. Does someone?
Mr. Chairman, in the interest of all concerned, the petitioner has actually requested an extension. So in the interest of all concerned, so that everyone may be better informed, I'd like to make a motion to continue this to the February meeting.
Will you be ready at the
second that motion.
February meeting? Those plans need to be in within 2 weeks or a week, 2 weeks?
I don't know, that's a tall challenge. Again, I'm not going to belabor the deficiencies of the plan, but I mean, I'm trying to be right up front with you. I'm not encouraged by this plan. If you want to put more work into this plan and more time and effort and energy, that's your choice, that's your prerogative. But there are several deficiencies with the plan. If you want to go forward with it, we would strongly recommend that you concurrently, you don't have to, you certainly are not required to, that you concurrently file with conservation, but I'm trying to give you my straight from the shoulder, as they say, opinion of this project, but.
So I'd amend my motion to continue this to the March meeting.
Does that give you enough time, Azu?
Yeah, the March meeting, and I would, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I know your job is not an easy job, and I don't envy your position. And quite clearly, I understand the comments by the abutters and the ward councillor. Those are well-founded and legitimate concerns and comments, and that's why we are here for a public hearing. And we will do what we have to do, and we'll come back, and basically that's why we come to the board to get some input, get some feedback, and we appreciate all the feedback and all the comments. And I don't think you're gonna find anybody on my side being cantankerous or anything like that. So we will go back and try to incorporate these comments and see if we can address them and come back before this board. Yes, we are aware of the fact that we need to go to Conservation Commission. We are not oblivious to that requirement. And it's a question of how you prioritize things, and we go from there. So, but I do appreciate all the comments. I believe if I were an abutter sitting on the other side, maybe I will be making the same type of comments. So we will do what we can to address those comments and come back here in March. And hopefully we'll be able to at a certain level, assuage and mitigate some of those concerns and comments.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, so there's been a motion made to continue the definitive subdivision to the meeting in March.
I'll second that motion.
Pardon
Yeah,
me?
I'll second it.
Okay, so
I'll
we've got
second the motion.
a motion and a second. So a roll call vote, please. Larry Hassan,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez,
Yes.
Reggie Thomas,
Yes.
Craig Pina,
Yes.
and Bob Pelagi is a yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, can we take like a 2-minute break?
Yes, please do.
Thank you.
I'm going to pause the recording until the board comes back.
I don't think it ever stopped, to be honest.
I don't think it either.
No, it did. It says recording now.
It says it's
it
recording
said
now?
through the whole
Yeah.
time on my screen.
Okay, good.
Are we ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay, agenda item number 6. I'm sorry?
Brockton Community Access, you may start recording again. We're back on.
Looking for Patrick Sullivan. Or is it going to be?
Eric Diaz, Patrick, oops.
Do you have Patrick? Oh, is that Patrick? Just Patrick?
I think I put Bob
There
up
he is.
there. by mistake. There's Patrick.
Okay, do you have Brockton access on, Rob?
Yes, they are.
Can we go forward?
Yes, we can.
All right, very good. So agenda item number 6, site plan approval amendment is retail marijuana. Its property is at 747 Center Street. Representative is Patrick K. Sullivan Esquire. And I assume, Mr. Diaz, you're also a representative, or do we have Attorney Sullivan?
Yeah, Patrick is on and I am assisting Patrick tonight.
Wonderful. All right, whichever of you gentlemen would like to make your presentation, please go forward.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Patrick Sullivan on here on behalf of the applicant. And as you know, Eric Diaz, who's here, the engineer on the project. I'll keep it short. I saw the staff report that was sent out today. And I think that gives a good explanation, but just for a little background on where we are, this site was before you previously. We might be a year and a half, 2 years ago now, and the staff report does have that information, but we received a site plan approval on this site. It was for the front portion of the lot, as explained in my application to you. It did not include the back portion because it was, at that time, the back portion was zoned as residential. After our approval from the planning board, the back portion of the lot, along with some other lots in that area, were rezoned to C2 commercial zoning district, which does allow for retail marijuana establishments. So at that time, we went and amended our special permit from the zoning board to allow the use of the parking lot in the rear of the parcel. And we did receive that amendment to our special permit. And now we're before the planning board basically to just amend our site plan approval to allow the use of the rear parcel for the parking lot, which again has been approved in the form of a special permit amendment. So Eric can speak to some of the layout and the plans that we have for that. But I think that's the basic overview on our end, and your staff report reflects the same, and I think had good substance and a review for us.
All right, thank you, Counselor. Okay, Eric, go ahead, please.
I'm going to share my screen just briefly, just to kind of walk through the plans a little bit. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so just as a refresher, I know you're all probably very familiar with this, but this is the site of the old Webster Bank building here. This is Quincy Street over here and Center Street up here. There's a signalized intersection right here where my mouse is. In the existing conditions plan, we have quite a few parking stalls on this site. I know I have a number somewhere, but let's call it close to a total of 30 parking stalls on the site in the existing conditions. When this was approved previously, there was a line that ran roughly right through here along this island. It was the zoning line. This back portion was residential. This front portion was commercial. So by our ZBA decision for the special permit, we weren't allowed to use the back portion. I think when we came forward for site plan review, we were all in agreement, staff included, that obviously isn't a ideal situation. One, it's simply inefficient because it takes up half of our parking stalls that we can't use. But almost more importantly, it creates just a dead lot with would have been fenced off on this side here, and this entrance would have been barricaded. So there was a lot of concern that this would just turn into a dumping site for the neighborhood, for lack of a better word. So I think the removal of that restriction, the rezoning of this back portion really opens up an opportunity, A, to let the site function as it should and as it's intended to, and B, to eliminate what's a potential hazard, just having a dead lot that you can't really be utilized in any way, shape, or form. So we have changed a little bit about the site only in our traffic patterns. As it was proposed before, there would have been a fence that ran right across where my cursor is now. So this was all just one-way traffic coming around the site here. We've been able to open that up a little bit to allow two-way traffic to come through here because we have the width that we need. And we obviously have two-way traffic out of this curb cut here as is existing now. The only other thing to really note is we revised our truck turning radius just to show that the fire engine can make it all the way through the site and back out on the Quincy Street if it needs to. And it can make this turn here to get back out to Quincy Street and access the back of the building. So really, that's it. I know you guys have had a long meeting. I won't drone on for too long.
All right, I just have one quick question. So, Mr. Diaz, so You are compliant with parking before the addition of this second lot, right?
That's correct, yes. If we isolate just this portion up front here, we do comply with the parking that we need. So in essence, back here is a bonus under the bylaw, but really for our practical purposes, it's probably going to be well utilized.
Oh, that's good. And the other thing I think I was on the zoning meeting on this when it first came through. I was concerned that because of that, the enforcement of that, the zoning district boundary line, this thing was going to be, fenced off and it was going to be in no man's land. And now it's a functioning part of the project. So,
Sure.
yep, that's all I have. Board members, any other comments?
I just think Mr. Diaz is probably happy that this hopefully is the last time he's in front of us for this. We've just seen this so many times. I'm happy that everything worked out well, and I'm happy for the petitioner that they were able to get the zoning change.
Well, I guess the good news is that each time we've seen it, it's just gotten better and better. So, yeah, it's a functional site. So, any other comments on part of the board members? Okay, this being a public hearing, Rob, do you recognize anybody that wishes to speak?
If anybody wishes to speak, please raise your hand. I can move you over. And I do not see anyone raising their hand at this time.
Wonderful, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the amended site
Motion
plan?
to approve.
The amended site plan. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call vote. Larry Hassan,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez,
Yes.
Reggie Thomas,
Yes.
Craig Pina,
Yes.
Bob Pelagi is a yes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you all for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Okay, next agenda item, number 7, site plan approval retail marijuana properties at 156 Main Street. Representative is attorney James Valeriani. And it's, I guess, the project participants are, petitioners are the Mensing Group. Who is it here representing that, please?
He's got a hand up.
Yep, I just moved him and I think I thought I saw the applicant. The proponent, but I don't see him now.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Jim.
Thank you, Rob. Yes, we should have representatives of Elevation Inc. They are the applicant, Victor Texera and Jose Andrade, the principals of the company, on with us.
I'm moving them up now.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else on your presentation team?
No, just myself and Jose and Victor.
All right.
We're good.
All right, would someone like to, who would be the representative that's going to make a presentation?
That would be me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Good evening to the board. I'd like to thank Rob and Pam and Raisa on their efforts to review and process our application for tonight's meeting. My name is Jim Valeriani. I'm with the Mensing Law Group. Our firm has a focus on permitting at the municipal and state level for marijuana establishments, any type of establishment. And we're working with Elevation Inc. here in Brockton for their proposed location for an adult use retail dispensary at 156 Main Street. Victor Texera is the president of the company. He's a Brockton resident. He's owned businesses in Brockton, and Jose Andrade is the vice president, former resident of Brockton, but owns businesses in Brockton. So they've partnered together to diversify in an entrepreneurial type of way to expand their business operations. And they chose 156 Main Street as the location for their proposed retail establishment. Now, there are a number of things that are important to note about the existing site. First and foremost, it was constructed in 1933. It's a classic Art Deco style building. It is listed on the Massachusetts Historic Commission's Register of Historic Places. Formerly a Woolworth, a department store was in there, and then the ROM Jewelry Company for a number of years. It is listed as a property that is designated for rehabilitation in the city's downtown Brockton Urban Revitalization Plan of 2016. So this is an opportunity for a new company that we fully expect would be doing quite well at this location downtown to help revitalize this building. And perhaps that could lead to other tenancies. Perhaps it could lead to some grant applications to the city or state to help to revitalize the building, rehabilitate the building. The two buildings adjoining are an old hotel and an old clothing store. Those were constructed in the 1920s. So for the past 90 to 100 years, this building has been in its current state. It occupies the entire 4,722 square feet of the lot. There's no parking available. No parking is required in your central business zone. There is no loading available, but if it were not a pre-existing non-conforming building, only one loading berth would be required. But given the deliveries, the patronage, the employee access to this building for the past 90 or so years, we're not changing anything. We have plenty of parking along Main Street, West Elm. We identify on our site plan, which I will attempt to share in just a few minutes, the proximity of the public parking that's available. We're a little over 500 feet from the Lincoln Street metered lot and just under 400 feet from the Crescent Street parking garage. Our employees would park at the garage for long-term use. Patrons would be in the downtown area as they may be on any given day, could park on the street, could park in the short-term metered parking. So there's no concerns with parking. It's not required. What is required is that we be on the second floor of this building. Now, the city zoning ordinance for C3 districts requires that retail marijuana shops not be located on the ground floor. We're going to locate on the second floor, occupy 2,269 square feet, which is much less than the 5,000 square foot cap under your ordinance. So what we have is a situation where in the city of Brockton, downtown in particular, you have a large number of buildings with no parking that are built out fully onto the property lot lines. It's been that way like any urban setting. I grew up in the city of Medford. There's a large block of buildings in the city of Medford that are built out on the property lines. Many of them host banks, jewelry companies, where no parking is available. So deliveries are made to the front of these properties. And that with the marijuana establishment, it would be done so in a very coordinated, secretive effort with the delivery of the product to the shop 2 to 3 times a week. They could either park on Main Street, they could park in the nearby garage. Product is delivered in secure cases. It's done very quickly, and there's no concerns. Even with the Cannabis Control Commission, that off-site parking be required for any deliveries or parking to a marijuana establishment. So on the one hand, our feeling is, in our elevation, Victor and Jose, pursuing what the city's ordinance not just requires, but encourages to come to the downtown area, be on the second floor. And so we've done that. But in the process of doing so, we did receive a number of questions over parking, over waste disposal, and there are no issues with that. There hasn't been with these properties for 90 years. There are not now. Waste disposal would involve cardboard boxes, plastic, food refuse from employees on site, just like with the other offices that are located in the building. A product would be strictly inventoried. There would be no waste of product. It's too expensive. They would make sure it's strictly controlled and sold and reordered. Any product that is delivered is in completely sealed packages. If it does expire, it will be destroyed on site with 2 witnesses as required by the Cannabis Control Commission. And it would be disposed of with an organic mix that renders it unusable. So it would be disposed of with the regular trash. We did indicate to the tech review committee, we would coordinate the removal of trash from this building with the other tenants, weekly trash, any marijuana waste, which again, we expect none, would be stored in a safe space inside our retail premises. Regular trash would likely be stored in the basement, and we would work with the owner to coordinate our trash removal as has been done with the other tenants in this building, again, for many, many years. So it is the nature of the building. It's downtown, it's urban, and we're looking to revitalize it. It's a fantastic building, and it needs revitalization. It is having a hard time, certainly with COVID, but in attracting tenants to downtown, and the city would like to see that happen. I'd like to bring up the site plan as that is what it was required. We were hoping when we first filed back in September that our architectural plans that did show a locus would be sufficient. It was not. We resubmitted the site plan. If I may try and share, excuse me, forgive me if I have trouble. May I, Mr. Chairman, go ahead and share that site plan?
Please, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Is that visible?
It's not a plan.
I'm sorry, you're not seeing the plan?
We see your files.
Okay, bear with me. How's that?
That looks like your cover sheet to your definitive site set.
Yes, this is our site plan. There isn't, without being glib, there isn't much of a site plan for us to show in connection with this project since the building does take up the entire lot. So this is just our locus plan on the top. Here is the site. Is this large enough to view?
Can you expand that a little, please, sir?
Okay. So here we are.
Yeah.
Protentis Plaza, corner of Main and East Elm, which converts to a VFW Parkway. 4,722 square feet this is the surrounding building built in the 1920s, a nearby building also built in the 1920s. We show municipal spaces available on Main, over on West Elm, and further down here on Main. We show the nearby Lincoln and School Street public parking area.
Yeah.
And we show the parking garage, which is a block away where our employees would park. So no problems with parking, plenty of it. Couldn't ask for a better location in terms of proximity of parking. And we expect residents and visitors who are already in the downtown Brockton area to visit the location, and that's what we hope and expect.
Okay.
And if I may go to, we just on this show our radius map. One of the radius items I'd like to show is, again, 524 feet to the Lincoln Street lot, 380 feet to the far side of the garage, a 500-foot radius, which indicates there are no schools and no other retail establishments within this 500 square foot area.
Okay.
So we meet those requirements of your ordinance. And then this is finally just the fourth sheet that the site plan engineer, North Country, had shown, just showing the nearest schools and the travel ways that would be to them. I don't know why that was even shown, but that's all that is. So that's our site plan. It's very basic. Our architectural plans show more detail about the interior space and the facade. Would you like me to bring those up now, Mr. Chairman?
I'm not sure that would be, unless Only if, in the interest of the lateness of the hour, because it has been a fairly lengthy meeting, if you think there's a benefit to showing the interiors, otherwise we could maybe possibly dispense with that, sir.
Well,
because I do have some, the board does have some comments and concerns that we did want to share.
Oh, I'm,
relative
Mr.
to
Chairman,
the-
if I may, if that is regarding the planning department's board staff report, which I received 2 hours before the meeting, that's why I'd like to show the architectural plans, because I was honestly a little bit dismayed at receiving that and seeing these very minor comments raised. I know the elevator and its condition has been a concern to planning, and it was at zoning. The chairman of the zoning board made it known that it hadn't been inspected for 5 years. But we're understanding it's an operational elevator, and it must be made operational and inspected before we can get a use and occupancy permit. It's a building code related item. In addition, we're going to be venting our exhaust up to the roof, and to do invasive exploratory review of an old building like that for what again is a building and electrical code related item were deemed not appropriate or within the jurisdiction of this planning board, which is a land use board. And on waste disposal, there is no disposal of any marijuana waste, very little if at all, and we're going to coordinate our waste removal with the other tenants. So it will not be left out on the street. We'll work closely with that and would expect a very strict condition on that. And our secondary power source, that was shown on our revised plan. So I guess there's a little bit of confusion perhaps. An older set of plans was looked at or submitted, but we did submit revised plans to show all of this. And if I can bring it up on the architecturals, I can establish that. I don't think I should have to. We did submit on November 5th an email to the Public Health Department prior to tech review indicating how our waste removal would be coordinated and indicating we're in compliance with the CCC regs. We did not get a response, but the Public Health representative was on tech review and reiterated that. The waste removal requirement to be reviewed by DPH does not have to require prior to this site plan review meeting. We have to do it and we will do it, but there's no waste removal. Odor control, we're putting in a carbon filtration system. The packaging is completely sealed, remains sealed, and is sold sealed. There are no odors associated with these retail establishments. We could have gotten away with sticking a couple of air purifier systems into that space, and the applicants chose to put in a fan system that would exhaust the air without odor up to the roof with a mechanical fan unit up on the roof. And there's a parapet up there. It will not be visible, and that will be spec'd out and made part of the building application process when the architect does more detailed plans and wiring schematics and the contractor is hired and we go to the building department. So we meet all of the requirements for this use at this location. And again, on the one hand, the city invites, requires 25% of applications, licenses be downtown. Here we are, smack dab downtown, trying to utilize a prominent prime real estate building, and the challenges are pre-existing, as that is the case with many of the other buildings in the downtown area. So we see no issues. We wouldn't have pursued the building if we thought there were any. There are no Cannabis Control Commission restrictions on a property fronting the street with no parking or loading, none whatsoever. We want to make sure we entertain any questions that this board has, because we are fully anticipating. I went into this meeting fully anticipating that we would have a favorable result, and to read the planning department's recommendation for a denial on such minor issues was a bit dismaying. And I've
Okay, let
addressed
me,
those.
if I may,
Well-
maybe I can, I don't mean to interrupt you, sir, but maybe I can, let's see. Okay, but let's just go down this, in my, from our perspective or my perspective as chairman of the board, I'm looking at, and we'll certainly entertain comments on the part of the board members, and you can rebut some of these, but I'm looking at two sets of concerns. One is the list of issues that were brought up at the November 30th tech review meeting that are listed in the planning department's comments. You have those 4 bullet items there, I assume, sir, right?
Yes.
I mean, you just, and not to be repetitive, but you just address some of those. Now, my understanding, someone from the planning department can jump in and correct me if I make a mistake here, but it looks to me, let's break it down into sections here. It looks to me that as a result of your tech review meeting, that the tech review was looking for a waste trash removal plan, not your intentions, but some sort of a waste trash removal plan. I don't know if that's tied to the city or the state marijuana ordinance. I don't know, but specifications for the odor exhaust through a roof plan. Identify the secondary power source for the site on the site plan, and the elevator is not ADA compliant. It needs to be brought into compliance. I mean, it's, and I appreciate your telling us that the applicant is going forward is going to take care of those, but generally when we have issues like that on a site plan approval that are not addressed, it's a concern. This being the approval process to the site plan, you can understand it's a concern at this stage. And then the second set of concerns, we've got concerns about offloading, and you've made your point well that because it's C3, there's no parking required, at least in our ordinance. But I can ask the question: does the city of Brockton's marijuana ordinance, or does the Commonwealth of Mass marijuana regulations require off-street parking? I don't know the answer to that.
No.
Okay, right. What about loading, off-street loading? I mean, parking is different from loading.
No, not required. We can do it from the street. We can do it by parking in the garage and wheeling it over if necessary. But we would seek to coordinate our deliveries of product randomly, quickly. I can tell you, I reviewed this board's December meeting with Atlantic Medicinal Partners down at 4 Main Street. They happen to be on the ground floor. They may not be at the street level, but they're on the ground floor in the rear, and they got approved. We went up on the second floor, which is what we were understood to be the requirement. They indicated their deliveries would be right on Main Street, in and out within a minute or two.
Okay.
And that's what we'll be doing as well.
All right, and then, so back to the set of comments that you got from tech review. I don't mean to belabor this, but, and I understand your response is going forward, but what about a non-compliant elevator?
That's correct. We have an elevator. See, your ordinance requires that retail establishments be ADA compliant. Now, in order to bring this up to ADA compliance, we need to bring in an elevator contractor and find out, an elevator engineering company, find out if any upgrades or repairs are necessary, and then call in the state elevator inspector to do an inspection and make sure it's adequate for passenger use. Any repairs, any upgrades, any costs required with that would be outlaid during the construction process. So we can't get a use and occupancy permit. We can't get a final inspection or a final license from the Cannabis Control Commission unless that elevator is working to support passengers and be ADA compliant. But that is a construction related item.
Okay, have you had a company, I'm just curious, sir, have you had a company come in and evaluate the existing elevator as it is now?
we have not done that yet. We were informed by the property owner that it is working. Apparently, there's some struggles with the upkeep of the building. I know that a tech review concerns were raised on old signage that is deteriorating, a protruding sign that looks like it's no longer in use and therefore is likely abandoned. We indicated we would cooperate to have that removed during our installation process. And we would do the same with the elevator as well. So we're trying to get through this process and get the land use, not construction approvals, but land use approvals. We did get our ZBA approval. Those issues were raised as well. And we obtained that approval by a vote of 4-1. And there were no appeals to our decision.
Okay. Any concerns on the part of the other board members?
I'm a little, I've got to admit, I'm a little puzzled and a little troubled at the concerns brought up. This is the only application that actually follows the intent, from what I understand, of the ordinance of being on the second floor, not on the ground floor. The one we approved last month doesn't really fit the intent of what we wanted. But this is the only application we've seen that fits the intent of what we want. You know, an elevator, I mean, why are we asking someone to go to the expense of having an elevator inspected and repaired and improved on a building they don't own that hasn't been approved yet? I think that's an unreasonable request. And in order to get an occupancy permit, they're gonna need to have an operating elevator. That's common sense. I'm just a little troubled and puzzled that we would actually have a recommendation to deny this when I don't see any reason to deny it.
Okay, thank you. I'm confused myself, to be quite honest with you, Mr. Pina. And I certainly don't want us as a board to exceed our authority. I'm kind of like learning as I go, to be quite honest with you. I want to make sure that we're procedurally correct, but I don't want to exceed our authority. So if someone from the planning department wants to assist the board in helping view this, that might be helpful if you would care to.
Raisa, you're up.
You there?
Hello?
Raisa? We lose her?
No,
I don't see her on there.
Her computer was having battery problems. I'm sorry. I just got a text from her. The issues that we're dealing with is that these items are all requirements of the site plan approval process in the zoning ordinance. And so that is why we have documented that we did not have a waste plan. And we're not talking about the marijuana waste, but the regular, oh, I'm sorry, my camera's off. The regular materials. The building has a history, and I realize this is not the tenant's problem or the applicant's problem. The building has a history of leaving trash on the street or trying to cram it into the public receptacles outside. And so we wanted to make sure that they had an agreement with someone who would make sure that garbage got picked up. With regard to odor control, I do realize, and we all realize, that the packets that are coming in are going to be completely sealed. But you show a odor control plan or a venting plan, but there are specifications for the outside of that plan that have not been shown. I am not aware of a revised plan that shows the secondary power source. You had mentioned batteries. I don't know where that's going to be. A battery backup system may need some special consideration from our fire department. elevator, the elevator does need to be operational when you open. It is probably something that the board can look at if the board wants to do a conditional, or at least make a note that it needs to be operational before it can, the tenant, or the applicant open operations. So those are my comments.
Okay, to the planning department, does the planning department or the building department at this point now have site plan? I know that we have, obviously, we've had long time site plan approval. Do we have site plan as built? Is there somehow that we sign off on a site plan?
Yes,
So we could do, in other words, to do a conditional approval, I guess all parties are acknowledging the deficiencies that were noted in the tech review. So it's possible to do a conditional approval?
It is, yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes, sir.
please, thank you. I do want to note that we did show the uninterrupted power supply, which has to be for a minimum of 4 hours on our security plans inside the secured area. Now, the security plans aren't shown in a public setting to not compromise the integrity of those plans, but they were shared with the planning staff and the police department. Captain LaFrance did approve our plans. We did add the uninterrupted power supply. A battery rack system could easily go in the basement as well, but we did have it shown in the security plans within the premises. We did include my memo to the public health department on the waste removal. I addressed it in my 9-page single-space narrative as well. We will coordinate.
would you be able to send that to us? Because we have made multiple inquiries at the Board of Health, and
It was included. It was
Okay.
included in my filing, my 78-page filing.
well,
and
that's
it was a-
probably, 78 pages of one document.
I know it, but I will say, we have found it, quite frankly, somewhat interesting how much this location has been challenged. It's a good location. We're trying to revitalize there. There's a scramble for final licenses in the city, and as this board, I'm sure knows, the city council threw up its hands in December and tabled all licenses.
Yep.
And is going to
Mr.
Superior Court for declaratory judgment. So we believe there's room for another
Mr.
license.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I do want to confirm that there is on the security plans, the uninterrupted power supply is on the document.
All right, so one by one, we're eliminating this. It's good stuff.
So thank you for bringing that to my attention.
So what's left on the punch list here? As small as it might be, they're
The
asking,
elevator, the odor control, and trash.
trash removal?
Yeah, and as of today, the Board of Health tells us that they got nothing. So,
I must say, I did email that showing compliance and consistency with the Cannabis Control Commission regs and how it would be disposed of. But again, there's no dumpster on site. If tenants are dumping their trash in the receptacles on the street or leaving them outside, I know the DPW rep mentioned that he didn't like to see that, especially over weekends where it would stay. We'll work with the owner to.
he's supposed
develop-
to have a disposal company
Right.
contract.
So we will have to have that, and we have no problem with coordinating other tenants' trash with our disposal efforts. It has to happen. And, but again, the DPH review of waste management is something that can be done after this hearing process, but we have addressed it.
I do see that in your application, your revised application, that you will coordinate that with the tenant.
Yeah, we don't know what else we can do.
I don't know, can you make those conditions of approval? There are standard conditions that come with a marijuana retail establishment
We would anticipate that.
that,
If that is the board's pleasure,
I'm just concerned that we're involving ourselves. I mean, these are strictly regulated by the Cannabis Control Commission. And we're looking at elevator items that they need a working elevator to comply with ADA and to get an occupancy permit. Why are we even looking at that right now when we're just in a preliminary phase when they have a lot of other boards to go through?
Because unfortunately, it's part of the regulation that says.
This is the only application we've gotten that actually fits what the spirit of the ordinance that we had passed.
Well, it's the only application that we've received on an upper floor, and
so I'm curious why what are the issues? I still don't see any major issues that aren't regulated by Cannabis Control Commission or the building department requiring ADA compliance.
Well, I think it's not that there are problems, Craig. It's that the ordinance, when it was written, said they must submit this information to you as a board. And
that's
the issue. So it's up to the board. The board can, you can make the conditions of approval that they get that the elevator passes inspection, and
Right.
it can all be worded.
Your ordinance requires ADA compliance. No different than it requires you to be in a particular zone. It's part of the law. We can't avoid it.
Right.
And it has to be addressed through the building application process after engineers and contractors have bid the project and apply for the permit.
So, Mr. Valeriani, what agency is it that actually signs off on the updated and approved elevator? Who does that?
Okay, so that would have to be a sign off by the state elevator inspector's office. I don't know where it is for Plymouth County. I think they have offices nearby in Milford. It would need a final use and occupancy inspection by the building department. And then finally, the Cannabis Control Commission comes in with a set of the building plans, and they do a walkthrough to make sure all security, all build out is built according to the architectural plans that we have to submit to the CCC in advance as well. So there's three levels of approval there. The state elevator inspector, nothing's going to pass them without being completely compliant. The building department, and I wouldn't be surprised if a peer review engineer is required during the build out of this, and that would be fine. And the Cannabis Control Commission's final inspection as well. So yeah, three more levels after this hearing and after if we're fortunate enough to get a license from the city council.
Okay. It is somewhat of a little bit of a catch-22. And again, are there any other comments on the part of the board? Any other comments or concerns on the part of the planning department?
No.
Okay. If someone, I'll throw this suggestion out there. Does someone, if it's all self-regulating, if it's all going to take care of itself, does someone want to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman.
This is a public hearing.
Does someone want to make a motion?
This is a public hearing.
I'm sorry?
We do need to take testimony.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Yes, this is a public hearing. Pardon me. Did you recognize Mr. Mayor, Pam, as anybody that wants to speak at this public hearing?
There is a gentleman named Bob, and if Bob could identify himself, he has been providing some comments in the chat section. And then there may be other folks, if you are interested in providing testimony, if you would raise your hand, and we can move you into the panelist section so you can speak. So Bob, if you would like to unmute. And to unmute in the lower left-hand corner of your screen.
Is he indicating that he wants to be recognized?
He had his hand up.
he had his hand up and he had a lot of comment in the chat, which unfortunately does not get,
He just said his microphone on his phone isn't working.
oh. I see that now. So I can read what he's written in the chat.
Do you have his name?
I don't know his name. Bob, could you type in your first and last name and your address?
Bob Lewis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So the CCC, the CCC requires secure loading and handicap access to the unit. This has not been, the elevator has not been inspected since 2016. People are using this elevator in violation of state law, and there is no secured loading. I am in a abutter and concerned with this being here, being there. This is an additional tenant that is going into a troubled building. The original odor control plan was thrown out in front of the building. Our batteries, our explosive batteries being stored in the building. I cannot find the UPS drive. It's on the security plan. It doesn't need to be made public. That last half is not answering that question. And they're required to have trash removal with a licensed trash hauler. Site plan review for a cannabis business requires these items in the application. And that is from Bob Lewis in 148 Main Street. So, we have the elevator issue, we have the odor control issue, we have the battery issue. But I think the most important thing is hanging out there is secured loading. And what secured loading, air quotes, actually means is anybody's guess. You know, is it a Sally port that you drive into? None of our cannabis operations have that kind of situation. Is it a vehicle pulls over and there is a security guard that monitors the material coming in and out? That's what most of our other cannabis operations are doing.
That is correct. And Mr. May, we
Well,
do show on our architecture, I'd like it. I would like an opportunity to make sure I respond to everything before the
Oh, please
hearing.
do. Please do.
Well, on our architectural plans, we do show the two security guards, one at the first floor level. The main entrance for the adult dispensary would be on East Elm, where the elevator is, security located there, an additional security guard inside the second floor security booth where IDs are checked. Separate entrance, separate exit. We would expect customers in there for about 10 minutes, 8 or 10 customers at a time at most during the busiest times. We've indicated it's a pre-existing building, 1933, no loading, no parking, not required for parking. Loading, if it were new construction, would have been one berth for this operation. We'll be dealing with our trash removal the same way it's been dealt with for 90 years. We'll coordinate with the other tenants and the owner. How else can you remove trash? I mean, it'll be stored in the basement. Our trash will be stored on the premises, and we'll make sure we work very closely with the owner. If it's a condition of this site plan, then there is an enforcement mechanism there, but there's also an enforcement mechanism by the Department of Public Health or the building department with enforcement actions if they deem necessary. So, you know, we're not going into this in any way thinking that it's not going to be highly regulated and highly scrutinized and reviewed, especially over the first year or two. The elevator will have to be made code compliant, ADA compliant, and there's no requirement in the CCC regs for offsite loading or parking. So
There is none regarding in the CCC regs?
no.
Okay.
And the odor control is overkill for what we're doing. A couple of air purifying units would have been sufficient with the packaging being sealed. but we're putting in the carbon filtration fan system routed through the interior of the building with a small air handling unit on top, which will not be visible from the street level, given the short parapet wall. Typical fan system on any commercial building. You know, that'll be spec'd out and dealt with by the building department as well.
Well, I mean, it would seem as though we're getting mired down in some catch-22 issues here. I mean, I think that each issue we raise, it seems as though it defaults to a higher level of inspection, a higher level of approval from a different agency. So again, I want to be careful that this board doesn't exceed its authority by imparting to this applicant conditions that we don't have the right to do. But at the same time, I want to be compliant with what our own site plan regulations require. So I wish I had a firmer grip on. I'm not terribly versed in marijuana regulations, but what's the pleasure of the board? And what is any other comments on the part of the board? I mean, I suppose we could.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
If I may, in listening to the presentation and finding the items that Mr. Valerian? Oh, thank you. Sorry, I screwed that up. Has addressed, I think we've addressed most of those that are what we consider could be conditional in the approval, because obviously it needs the Board of Health, it needs the inspection of the elevator. For the most part, he is right. They are systems with regard to the air handling. Security plans do show sufficient detail, and I'm comfortable with a conditional approval.
Okay.
Given the fact that everything requires approval from other authorities, I'd like to make a motion to approve with the standard conditions.
I'm going to second that motion.
How do we, just a quick question. So how do we incorporate the conditional items?
The standard conditions? What other conditional items are there?
Well, the planning department had suggested a conditional approval.
At opening, the elevator needs to be.
With my motion, that, I mean, it recognizes the fact that the elevator needs to be ADA compliant before even opening. And it needs to be ADA compliant before they even get an occupancy permit. I don't think it's within our authority to approve anything on condition of the elevator. I think that's a total different scope of authority. That's why I made the motion just for standard conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Comments, please? Are we good with that?
And Reggie seconded that, I believe.
Okay.
I did. Roll call.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve with a second. Let's go to a roll call vote. Larry Hassan,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez,
Yes.
Reggie Thomas,
Yes.
Craig Pina,
Yes.
and Bob Pelagi is a yes.
Thank you very much. I know it's been a long night, and I hope it moves quickly for you for the remainder. And I appreciate you listening to this long presentation. And I know it was a challenging site, but it's a fantastic site. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Rob and Pam. Thank you.
All right, thank
you all.
Good luck with the
Good
project.
evening.
Can we go forward, Rob?
Move to adjourn?
Got one
You
more.
just leave Scott there.
Yeah, just leave him there.
Scott can come back another day.
Thanks a lot, Rob.
Appreciate it.
All
You're
right,
welcome.
let's go. So last item is site plan approval, retail marijuana, properties at 165 Westgate Drive. Representative is Scott Farrier, J.K. Holmgren. Good evening, Scott.
Thank you for not taking the planner's advice, Mr. Pelagi. What I have, a quick, easy site plan approval for retail marijuana at 165 Westgate. We were before tech review a year ago, December of 2019. And there was a relatively small list of items that the committee had for comments. As you know, the site 165 Westgate Drive, it's an existing building, existing commercial property on Westgate Drive, parking in the front, kind of on either side of the building, has a bunch of existing buildings. There's been medical supplies, H&R Block, physical fitness. There's a military recruiting office there as well. We're looking at using up about 2,600 square feet of the building for the marijuana use. The changes that were discussed at tech review, as I said, they're kind of small. One was adding a new fence around the dumpster area, which we've done. The one that's there now is in a little bit of rough shape. We added an emergency generator to the rear of the building, and we eliminated the note that somebody brought up at tech review about the construction entrance. And eliminating that note, we had a standard note about a construction entrance. In this case, we didn't need it. In addition to that, we've made one other change that really wasn't discussed at tech review, but we looked at it and figured it might help things a little bit. We've added some green space in front of the building. We eliminated 4 parking spaces. We had, I don't know, about 10 extra spaces on the property. And realistically, anytime you go there, the parking lot's never full. So by zoning, we had 10 extra spaces. We figured we could take 4 of them out and put in a landscaped island right there in the middle. So we've done that. So that's the other significant change that we've made. And just on our property with our square footage for our use, we're required to have 12 parking spaces, and we've provided 13. So that is the down and dirty version, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you for that. Any comments on the part of the board?
Isn't this the, I mean, this is, I think this site was the very first application we heard of.
It would have been the first one you heard at the zoning board.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yep.
Mr. May, do we recognize anybody that wants to be heard?
Are there anybody who would like to be elevated to panelist to discuss?
Yeah, I would.
This is back in there. Oh,
Oh, man.
Oh,
Hey, you kept me up this long.
This is way past his bedtime.
Eric Holstein is joining the group, but Phil, if you want to go first. And Eric will be second.
Eric Holstein is one of the principals of the business who may or may not speak, but just for a little expanded background, the site has a total of 250 parking spots. Even though we said we're dedicating 13, there are 250 available. So it's probably the only proposed site in the city with the most parking spots and the most access and egress. In addition, Mr. Holstein and Anthony Ackel, who are the principals, just a quick background on their management style, because we have all types of applicants looking for licenses. These 2 guys both graduated with business degrees, one from Harvard, one from Cornell, and they were consultants for Price Waterhouse. Mr. Ackel had developed 80 restaurants that are all successful and was named Executive of the Year. And he built out 80 restaurants. They're called Be Good. They're throughout the city of Boston, throughout all the various shopping plazas. And they're basically gone from Maine down to North Carolina, and several of them are in Europe. Business to develop a property and to do it with high efficiency, high level, and bring credit to the area. And I think that's what Brockton is looking for, should be looking for, not only the type of business, but who's running the business, what's their experience, what do they bring to the table. I think it's a golden team, and because I have an interest in the real estate, I was very, very particular on what was going there and who was developing it, because you know, you can bring anything anywhere, but if you don't have the right jockey on the horse, you're not going to win the race. You're not going to be able to handle it properly. So I'm very enthusiastic particular guys operating the business. They've also been in the city of Brockton looking at opportunity zones. Development in real estate and managing businesses is their forte. And I think at this facility, it will be a credit to the city, a benefit to the city. And I know they will operate and do the right job. And so I just wanted to, I think it was important for the board to know who the people are along with the entity and the proposal of the business.
Right, thank you, Mr. Nasrallah.
Would anyone else like to speak? Mr. Holstein, or I have two Patels, Ian Woods, a Hallie Lasso, Bob Keane, and Milt in the attendees section. If they would like to speak, please raise your hand.
I think they're just listening.
Okay.
And I think Phil spoke much more highly of me than I would ever be able to. So I think I will just defer to you guys on that. And so I'll pass the speaking.
That's okay. I'll let you go on that.
All right, so you're not recognizing anybody that wishes to speak from the public, Rob?
I don't see anybody raising their hand.
Okay, wonderful. I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Do any of the board members have any other further concern?
I just have a question. I mean, we have a lot of applicants for the last remaining license. What do you see as putting you above every other applicant that's already in line?
Well, this is historically, this goes back to when the first licenses were issued. They were issued by Mayor Carpenter to X amount of people. And it was never designed to be a horse race. It was either they could creditworthiness, their abilities, and their ability to get a license. Subsequent to Mayor Carpenter, more licenses were given out, but it was never mentioned to any of the license holders of the HCAs or the HCA holders that we were now going to have a foot race to the finish. So I think that was basically the inequity, and it's a problem. I can tell you by firsthand knowledge, as having been city solicitor, that was not the way it was designed for this to be a horse race, because there's a lot of time, money, and effort that has to go into this. And you can't tell a guy, go spend 50, 60, 70,000, move the goalpost, change the rules of the game and say, you know what, you're too late. If it was designed that way, it should have been mentioned that way. So I think that's something the city has yet to grapple with and resolve. I don't think the last horn has been blown on this. I think that it's always been a process in progress and not with a final resolution. As you can see from the city council issues, there is a lot of disagreement and doubt and uncertainty how they're supposed to handle this. If you've looked at the last city council meetings, it was almost so, and they were looking now for the court to help lay out what the rules are. So it's not set in stone. And quite frankly, I think that all those who were given HCA should be entitled to get to the finish line. But if the next mayor wants to open it up for 10 more, you know, somebody's got to set down the rules from the beginning. If they're going to be changed, you got to notify everybody that was part of the game at the beginning. And that didn't happen. So there are a lot of issues, legal, non-legal, that are yet to be determined.
Good answer.
Well, it's true. Look, I understand this is a new business, not only for Brockton, but throughout the Commonwealth. And there was no uniformity to the regulations or the rules. But everybody was freelancing on this in you know, shooting from the hip, and it was not the way it should have been done. I know how much we struggled when we tried to lay out the guidelines for the city council on marijuana. It was just a, like playing volleyball back and forth. Until this day, there's still vagueness, uncertainty what's supposed to happen. So yes, the person who was given an HCA in 2018, spent 2 years working on a site, working on architects, engineers, lighting. Now, more people were thrown in the race, and there's real legal issues of inequity and illegal process that's taken place. And I don't think it was fair to those who are receiving HCA's later, no more than to the ones who received it earlier. So if you're going to do that, then put them all on the same plane. Because look, Brockton's a big city. Northampton has 40 licenses, and you speak to the mayor there, he wishes he had more. Brockton's worried if they got 10 or 15. It doesn't make a difference. They have
Phil,
40 liquor stores.
Phil, who did you say has 40 licenses?
You said Northampton.
Northampton.
Oh, Northampton.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mr. Chairman, it is now 9:15.
Yes.
Would you be interested in a motion?
Yes, I certainly would. But I didn't want to be rude and,
Well, Phil
Did
will
we
go
have
on
public
for an
input?
hour. He's paid by the word.
yep, all right. So I appreciate that information. That's useful information, Mr. Nazrella. If there's no other input from the part of the public, I'm going to declare that portion of the hearing closed. Would someone like to make a motion?
Motion approved?
I'll second the motion.
Hello,
Motion to approve with a
I'm
second.
trying to complain about this and nobody lets me get talk.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lewis, we didn't recognize you. Pardon me.
We at?
We had closed
You
that
already
portion of the hearing.
Well, I guess, I don't know. Do you have a
Oh,
specific?
wait, yeah, please let him speak because he's been trying to raise his hand, he said. So
Okay.
just let him
Do you have
speak, please.
Do you have a specific comment or two, Mr. Lewis?
Yes, as I was trying to find out, I want to look at the public records to find out who has the host community agreement. I don't see Mr. Holstein's name on it, anything there.
Can you respond to that, Mr.
The
Nazrella?
organization, it's not listed on the HCA. Doesn't have to be.
The HCA is from Bedford Street in Bridgewater with a different person.
That's the resident agent who
Yeah.
receives mail or legal process. If you
This
look
is
under
not a
that name,
proper-
it says resident agent.
I just want to let my record know that I'm against this, that this is not a proper place for it. We had this hearing years ago on when they wanted to put the medical in there. And the Mr. Nasrallah used to be the city solicitor when the original HCA's went out. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your input. Do you have anybody else that wants to be recognized, Mr. May?
Not at this time, sir.
Okay, we're going to close that portion of the public hearing. We have a motion, a valid motion and a second, which still stands as far as I'm concerned. Okay, a roll call vote. Larry Hassan,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez,
Yes,
Reggie Thomas,
Yes.
Craig Pina,
Yes.
and Bob Pelagi is a yes. Well, thank you, gentlemen, and
Thank you, folks. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Scott.
Thank you for your
Bye.
patience to all. Thank you to the board members and to the planning
We need a
department.
motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Motion
adjourned.
Thank you.
Second.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Have a good night.
See you in a couple weeks.